I should say day 88, but I'll change that in a second. Okay, if you guys can let me know if that's working, that would be awesome. Okay, see you guys. See you guys there, guys. Okay, appreciate it. Okay, we're just on the YouTube, so if everyone can come across, that would be awesome. What was that? Sorry guys, 1 second. Cool. And then if YouTube guys can let me know, is it working? Can you guys hear the space? I should actually request. Okay, and then bring everybody up. Guys, can you hear on the YouTube? Let me know. Okay, I'm just gonna assume it is working on YouTube. Actually, they're not saying anything, so is it working? Let me just quickly check. Sorry, guys. This is what you boys, a one-man band trying to run this entire operation. Just give me 2 seconds. Let me just check if it's working. And then I'll bring everyone up and we can discuss the breaking news, and I'll give you it as well. I assume it is working on YouTube. Yeah, it is working, yeah. Okay, cool. Let me start bringing people up. And I forgot to mention, thanks to Zaf for the super chat on both of those. Sorry, things are a bit frantic. Okay, let's bring people up. Let me just give you some news as well. Okay. Okay, let me just quickly, 1 second. So the Israelis are reporting on Channel 14 News that they're holding off on the attack on on Iran. And the reason they're holding off on the attack on Iran is because they want, they're waiting for the FIFA World Cup to end. So this is the problem. This is why they claim they are holding off on the attack on Iran. Okay, 1 second. Okay, let me actually just put the link out first of all for the YouTube, and then we'll take it from there. And then I'll go through the news for you. So first one is, obviously the first piece of news is the claim that Israel wants to bomb Iran, but the US has told them that they don't want to do it yet until after the World Cup is over. Which is something that we've been discussing with a lot of our guests. Although Larry Johnson kind of thinks that there could be a possibility of an attack, in between the ending of Hajj, which is probably this weekend, to to the start of the World Cup, because it's the 11th, so that almost gives you 2 weeks, and that's already probably they can go on for. So But tomorrow, Trump apparently is going to be at Camp David. So it's going to be interesting what the conversation's about. Is it to escalate or is it to de-escalate? This is going to be the $1,000,000 question. Okay, I'll put the tweet out. Sorted. Yeah, guys, if you could retweet the space, reshare the space, let everybody know we're live. Let's try and get as many people. Okay, so that as I say that, Trump has cancelled the meeting at Camp David. He said it's because of the weather. That is the latest Trump statement. Let me get it for you guys on Truth Social. So Trump had to say the following. He said, based on the possible bad weather conditions, we will be having our cabinet meeting in the White House and will be postponing the cabinet trip to Camp David. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So, I mean, is the weather really that bad? What's Trump cancels Camp David cabinet? Guess whatever the plan was isn't gonna no longer be happening. So they essentially have cancelled the Camp David meeting. Public either?
Yeah, I'm here. I was just looking up the weather actually to see if there was any like hurricanes or whatever on the way to Florida.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Is there any hurricanes in?
that was actually interesting. I'm like, oh yeah,
That's
there must be
hilarious.
something.
Because the question is there hurricanes in America or is he
No, I
blagging
mean
it?
I feel like it just looked like regular rain. I mean, Trump must know something I don't, but yeah.
Yeah, I feel like he's just blagging it because whatever the reason for the Camp David meetings were, I mean, there's two possibilities if you listen to the meeting with, the interview Colonel Wilkerson, either it was that they were very close to a deal and therefore they wanted to be there to basically conclude the deal, although he made a fair point that you would only use that if you were going to bring someone from Iran there. Is there a chance someone from Iran was going to go there? Possible, but a bit lower. But what we do know is, or the other possibility is they were going to plan an attack. The fact that it's cancelled, I do think is quite big. What do you think, public?
Yeah, I just I think that they were close to a deal, but I think people within Trump's circle don't really want a deal, and I think it's just for show, just to show his base that like, hey, I'm trying or whatever. He's doing the Netanyahu thing, not showing up to court because making excuses, not making excuses for the weather. I'm on the side that they benefit greatly from every day that there isn't a deal made, but yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think a deal is going to be made though. I think if there is a deal made, it's gonna be done for like a day or two, and then it's gonna be broken anyway. So, like that's where we are.
Yeah, highly unlikely the deal continues. Highly likely the deal is broken. You can't trust the Israelis at all.
I just don't think the Israelis like they're the way I saw like them getting upset at the fact that there might be a deal. I don't see it happening and stuff. And yeah, there's just too much money being made for them to just be like, all right, like just figure it out right now. They're like, no, like let's make this last as long as we can to fill our pockets up.
Yeah, exactly. We also have a chemical tank imploded at a paper packaging plant in Longview, Washington. So that's a paper packaging plant that exploded. Also, just going to continue giving you the news. Cuba's foreign minister challenged Trump's claims that Cuba is a failing nation, asking why a full energy blockade is needed if it's an economically irrelevant. Either Cuba matters more than he stated, or the blockade is purely economical. So the Cuban foreign minister coming out and attacking him. Omar, thanks for joining us. Hope you're doing well. Give us your thoughts. Anything you want to add? Okay, let me continue giving the news. 1 second. Let me just find out what time it is. What time? And guys, does anybody on request? We've got hardly any panelists here, but I guess people are used to starting properly at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, sorry. Sorry, not 2 o'clock, 5 p.m. That would be... Okay. Let me give more of the news. Trump and Netanyahu apparently had a call about an hour ago. The claim is that Washington pulled Israel back from bombing Beirut. I'm not sure about the veracity of that. Israel is bombing Gaza right now as well. So what's the ceasefire? Like people, do you remember during that time, people were like, oh, if Hamas give up their weapons, if Hamas make a deal, then everything will end. Well, Hamas did that. Did it end? No, it didn't. And they're like, oh, once it ends, the world's going to wake up. And it's like, no, bro, like you're talking nonsense. You need to resist these people. That doesn't work. And this is a prime example of that, prime evidence of that as well. So this claim that they make about, oh, you shouldn't resist because the world's going to wake up and people are going to realize Israel's the bad guy is ludicrous and ridiculous, because you saw it. Gaza is the prime example. They essentially did ceasefire. They stopped attacking, and what happened? Nothing happened. It all stayed the same. Okay. Trump also made this statement. Okay, no, that's an older statement. Okay. One second. Okay, and you know about the Israel ordering evacuation across 13 towns in South Lebanon. That's 50 towns that Israel has told people to retreat from in Lebanon. Also, footage came out showing Iran's new air defense systems. It targeted a US F-35 stealth fighter jet over Bandar Abbas, and then the F-35, once it was located, ended up fleeing. So this is not good for America, where Iran's defense system now is able to locate. It was previously, but it seems it can do it almost all the time now. The F-35 fighter jets and their stealth aircrafts. Okay, I'm just getting the news for you guys. As I mentioned, Israel bombed a residential building in Al Rimal, Gaza City, killing at least 2 Palestinians and wounding more than 20 others. So, I mean, look, this is what I mean. This is what happens when you ceasefire with these people. There is no ceasefire with them. The IRGC continued to control the Strait of Hormuz. 25 vessels passed through the Strait of Hormuz in the last 24 hours, all following the Iranian procedure and making sure they follow the rules. Anybody wants to speak, do request. See, like you all complain about the panelists, but like you see what happens when you don't have panelists. It's not easy. I have to just talk for the full time. Netanyahu and Katz spoke yesterday on the emergency hotline and agreed to launch a large-scale operation beyond the yellow line in Lebanon. And this is going to be really bad for the Lebanese people. They're going to continue to bomb it, unfortunately, because that's what the aim is going to be. The Israeli mode is they bomb whatever region they want to try and take, they'll bomb from the air and then try and come in from the ground afterwards, after they've
It
bombed
feels like
some.
they go harder whenever there's closer to an agreement. Anytime like the US is closer to making an agreement or whatever, like it feels like they go harder around then. Like with the bombing campaigns and stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. Yeah, this is what they do. They're not happy about ceasefire. No ceasefire at all. Okay. Continuing on with the news. A senior Israeli official now says an attack on Iran is off the table at this stage. Trump has already confirmed, this is according to Channel 14, I mentioned this in the interview if you heard it, that Trump, sorry, what was I say? Trump claimed that he was planning to attack last week, but now apparently they're waiting for the FIFA World Cup and the 50th Independence Day celebrations. Now I know that what's his name again? Colonel Wilkinson said he's not bothered about it, but I don't agree with that. I think he does care about that because it does kind of shine. He got a trophy from FIFA. He got, a the entire thing was all about, FIFA giving him an award, America holding FIFA World Cup. It's the first time they're holding it for 32 years. So I don't agree that he doesn't care about it, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see if things are different.
So you think the World Cup actually is influencing Trump to halt hostilities and whatnot? Like,
I think it might. I mean, I could be wrong, but just like, would you want a situation where America's hosting the World Cup, unless they think that that's a good way of deflecting? Where do you want a situation where America's hosting the World Cup, people are angry with America while they're bombing people, and the whole reason for America hosting a World Cup, the only reason you host a World Cup is to improve like tourism, to present your country in a good light, and the money you spend on the World Cup, you start reaping the benefits over a long period of time. It's not immediate. So, I mean, those are factors. Unless he doesn't really care about America and he wants to destroy it.
I
But
feel like him and his friends, him and his Zionist influence group, they may show that they care or whatever, but when given the chance, they'll drive that dagger in the back, or easy opportunity. They're like, forget this image stuff. They're like, Israel first, right? Or money first, or whatever for them.
yeah, true. Yeah, I agree. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. Uh,
Actually, like now knowing what I know, I wonder how difficult it was for all these other countries to always deal with America and Israel for the past like 75 years. It must have really sucked.
yeah, it probably did so, for sure. Um, so it says Brussels is raiding its own vault of money, $13.5 billion total, for in basically improving their military capability. Obviously, you saw Russia. Russia has said that they plan to start escalating, that they plan to increase their attacks on Kiev and also maybe expand it into Europe as well. So, obviously, major escalation in that regard as well. Okay, and already mentioned that Israel pushed ahead of the line. Okay. So I'm just checking for the news as well for you guys. Rubio said the following on the Strait of Hormuz. It says it's unsustainable for the world and it's unacceptable. He called it illegal. And I obviously mentioned this before we did the interviews that he can say that, but at the end of the day, there's no such thing as law. They demonstrate that. There's no such thing as international law. They demonstrate that. There's no such thing as international maritime laws. If there was, Israel wouldn't have bombed. Israel wouldn't have. Well, remember the Gaza flotilla? The Gaza flotilla was heading to Gaza. It was in international waters. Despite that being the case, what happened? Trump still, Netanyahu still attacked. What you call it again? Attacked the flotillas and took them under control, despite them not being in Israeli waters. Trump also made this statement. It's crazy. I just double checked it because I thought it's an old statement because he made the exact same statement like a week ago. He's made the same statement again. So he's getting frustrated that everyone thinks he's lost this war. So he says, if Iran surrenders, admits their navy is gone and resting at the bottom of the sea and the air force is no longer with us, and if the entire military walks out of Tehran, weapons dropped and hands held high, each shouting, I surrender, while wildly waving the representative white flag, and if the entire Romanian leadership signs all necessary documents of surrender and admits their defeat to the greatest power and force of the magnificent USA, the failing New York Times, the China Street Journal, corrupt and now irrelevant CNN, and all other members of the fake news media will headline that Iran has a masterful and brilliant victory over the US, over the United States of America. It wasn't even close. The Democrats and media have totally lost their way. They have gone absolutely crazy. So he's basically once again getting a large amount of pushback about the attack on Iran. Sorry, the fact that they're going to cease fire on Iran, the fact that they're going to capitulate in Iran, the fact that they're going to raise the white flag on Iran, and they're going to accept the deal that Iran is demanding. He is now essentially getting frustrated because he is getting a lot of pushback for it. And the Zionists aren't happy. And so it's going to be interesting where this goes, because how can Netanyahu create a expansion of the war? How can Netanyahu increase the war if there's a scenario where there's no, if there's going to be a deal? So quite clearly, this seems to suggest that things are a lot more complex. And in the sense of by complex, I mean that why would they have an expansion of a ground invasion? Remember how complex a ground invasion is if there's going to be a deal soon. So this could be more delaying tactics. It could be more manipulation of the market, whatever it may be. But obviously, it doesn't seem like anything is happening when it comes from a deal's perspective, or from the perspective of a deal. And the disagreement about the frozen assets, the frozen money, is that Galibaf has made the statement that essentially Iran, no, Galibaf didn't make the statement, but sorry, Iran has stated that they want the assets to be unfrozen. And when they say that they want the assets to be unfrozen, what they mean is that they want at least 50% of their assets immediately. So that's And that's a smart move to make, because in the past, uh, when the US has agreed to essentially, when the US has agreed to a ceasefire, when the US has agreed to terms with Iran, they've never upheld their end of the deal. And so this is an example of it. And unfortunately, this is how these people act. Yeah. Okay, I want to welcome Paul on stage. Paul, I hope you're doing well. Give us, what's your thoughts?
Hi, Solomon. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You can. Fantastic. Reporting in from Australia, the point of view that we see as quote unquote one of Australia's best friends and allies. That's the nation of Australia. We're really being kept in the dark because we can't trust our so-called greatest ally. And I can't imagine what it would be like to be Iranian at this stage. And the let alone Gazan or Lebanese, doesn't matter which ethnicity, the concern's still there. We're dealing with some pretty hectic claims, but none of them are justified from the American side. None of them. It's just it's a ridiculous situation where I really feel not enough attention's being put to the actual traits, not just the abstract ideological traits, but the actual behavioral traits of fascists and tyrants. And it seems like the tyranny of the US is teeter-tottering at the top of its hegemonic power. And I'm well, I'm surprised, but also not surprised that my countrymen are stand somewhere it because they're too busy or they're disengaged. They're disengaged from a deep news cycle that is layered and peppered everywhere you look with propaganda, justifying a narrative which sanctifies, impossibly, I think, the Zionist narrative. I don't think you can sanctify something that has evolved from gangsterism into terrorism or never was really any different from either, and based upon a premise of ethnic supremacy of one particular ethnicity. It's and as Australians with a very blended multicultural society with some areas of issues of social cohesion, we look to America for the leadership of the MAGA lemmings, of the hyper nationalists, the ultra nationalists who just want to keep on dragging America further and further towards the complete status of being a fascist regime. And I honestly can't commend people enough to um, the essay by the famous Umberto Eco, the Italian philosopher who lived through Mussolini's fascism. I reckon his essay, You Are Your Fascism, from I think it was 1995. I recommend it. It really does. It gives us the capacity to distill and identify identifiable traits of fascism, of tyranny, of authoritarian regimes. And I don't see too many effective arguments coming back from all the right against such a screening process. But when we're in an alliance with the number one superpower in the world, we are in a strange position when we don't agree with them. And even as I feel our own Prime Minister in Australia was extremely underpowered. Uh, he was so weak on on the response to the global flotilla that was and the the war crimes that the Israelis committed against all those activists. But it did it really have to take so many Euro European ethnicities from around the world before the mistreatment by the IDF or the Israeli forces are? It seems like total incongruence. I remember learning about this in the 80s, in the late 80s, that Israel was acting either as the deputy world cop or the big world cop, depending which way you looked at it. I'll drop the mic there. Thanks.
Cool, thanks for that. Paul, specifically about this war, do you think it escalates or what do you think happens?
I tend to agree with the escalation principle. I cannot see Israel rolling over towards the US, let alone the world's expectations. It seems like they are committed to their genocide apologia, and they have an amount of excuses and sanctifications for it. And I tend to be fall somewhere between, I think, not wanting to speak, just a couple of the other speakers, but that you usually have a couple of panelists. I tend to fall somewhere between the belief that it's Israel is a forwarding base for America, or that America is controlled by Israel. I think it might be actually a combination of the two, like joined twins.
Cool.
Thanks.
Thanks for that, Paul. Andrew, thanks for joining us. Hope you're doing well. How are you?
Suleiman, thank you coming in. Yeah, I also people, folks, listeners, repost. We hear it all the time. Please do it. I'm reposting that, and I've got to go back and get the your interview on the last. You're doing the last amendment moral resistance now. Trying to catch up. We have to stay tuned into this to stay updated. The changes are so fast, things are happening. I mean, Suleiman, I've never, in our time, I don't think we've, any of us, if we're really honest with ourselves, have ever seen things happening at such a pace. It used to be, you pick the news up, and I know I'm dating myself. You pick the news up, oh, there's a development here and there, but now things are happening by the minute. And God bless you, Suleiman. You stay on top of it. Your dedication to the moral resistance and to fighting the good fight is astounding. It's inspiring. You inspire me, sir. You inspire me, my good man. Thank you. And we have to stand for this, and we cannot stand by idly. We have to keep speaking up. I was just speaking with someone, and I said, "Oh, I'm running late. I've got to get on Suleiman Space." And we're like, "Yeah, we got to stay tuned in." But what's happening here, we see it clearly. But if you ask just a person on the street, I was just talking to some folks yesterday here in the U.S., they have no idea, nor do most of them even care about what's going on in the genocide, because each day during this back and forth with the peace process, or the quote, let's go through this negotiation period, Israel is systematically killing, murdering innocent men, women, children, moving step by step their position in southern Lebanon to build a stronger, not only a stronghold, not only a stepstone, but a stronghold there. And I just found out that in the past month in the West Bank, there's been additional 12 new settlements established there. They move in, they stick in a flag, kill some people. Let's go kill some more. No one even cares. But America cannot stand by and continue this as this happens. I was having people even yesterday, a gentleman, I said, "Do you be honest with me? You're an educated man. Do you have any idea what is happening right now?" Yeah, with all that news there in Iran. No, I said, "No, about what in Lebanon, while we're in this peace negotiation or whatever, that Israel is systematically, they love it because all they're doing is they're just killing more people." And Suleiman, I got to say this. I got to say this, my dear brother. I love you dearly. I'm starting to get really upset that I think Iran needs to stand up, and they can't they're literally, they say they want to help and they're looking, and I know that Lebanon has to be a part of this. They won't be a peace, a negotiation, or agreement until Lebanon is considered. But if Israel, why does Israel keep killing people and they keep moving? And I know that Hezbollah is fighting this, but I think that Iran needs to, and well, forget the U.S. doing anything. We're incompetently standing by and watching idly and funding this. But I wish to hell Iran would just start taking out Israeli aircraft and any movement of their forces, start putting them into oblivion. And I know I sound like some maniac, raving maniac here, but it's really for those of us that have been in this from day one. It's becoming more and more increasingly difficult to watch this without Iran taking a stronger, more aggressive step in this, and why the United States and forget writing your congressman. Forget that. Your congressman's been bought and sold out. Forget about, oh, let's go vote at the election. We're going to vote some people in. Even if you vote someone in who's a green candidate or even an independent, even if they were by miracle to get elected, they have no voice. They'll just be sidelined there in Congress and they'll be voted out in the next election cycle. We are now going to have to, I believe, really start not only speaking out, we're going to have to literally stop and okay, the boycotting action, but economically disassociate ourselves from the system, get into digital and all this other stuff, but also in the election process. And I believe that. Don't even participate in the election, the electoral process. Just stop saying we're done with your system. And other than that, I really strongly believe we just keep speaking out against it, and I pray that more and more people wake up. But people will have blood on their hands, and we'll have to answer to God for why we don't speak out against this. Suleiman, thank you so much. I'm learning, always still learning more and more from you. Have great interviews from the folks you put on, and keep fighting a good fight. Love you, dear brother.
Appreciate that, Andrew. Yeah, appreciate that. Thanks for your comments. Andrew, what's your thoughts about what's happening now? There does seem to be that there's going to be. I mean, Trump was meant to go to Camp David. He cancelled it. What do you think is going on?
Yeah, this is really becoming clearer and more and clearer. It is like a giant puzzle being put. The pieces are now in place. This is a freaking game. The game is all about the money, the manipulation of the markets so the rich can get richer. Trump is making billions. He's making coin. He's making buck. Our oil companies are becoming richer. The money, and as Simon has clearly said, the money, this is the largest money manipulation, monetary manipulation of wealth transfer, unseen and unprecedented in our time. So this is all a big money market manipulation of wealth transfer to the elite. We are in the quote new world order. We now have a multipolar world. This is all we're watching this all play out. It's all everyone's playing their part. It's just delay the delay. They keep kicking the can down the road. We're working out peace negotiations. Though could be I think we will see kinetic little tit for tats, some kick some people, we'll make some military strikes or go blow some more stuff up. Oh, they'll retaliate, they'll make a complaint. But the bottom line is when this finally settles out, we're going to see a massive, I believe, Suleiman, a massive restructuring the world as we've never known before. The new Agenda 2030 will be laid out clearly. We'll be in that new multipolar world where the United States of America is now in its hemisphere. We no longer have control. And if someone is stupid enough to believe that America has control in the Middle East, I mean, they're either paid op. They're either a paid op or they're feeble-minded. There's no third option. They're a paid op or they're feeble-minded. So America no longer has hegemony. It no longer has military control. The United States Navy does not exist in the Middle East anymore. The Fifth Fleet has gone, past tense, gone, done. So if someone says, no, we're going to rebuild that, we're going to reestablish our baloney. They're a paid op or they're some psychotic brainwashed psyop or they're feeble-minded. The United States is done there. So we're now the United States of America has now repositioned itself. We have no control in the South China Sea. China runs that, and we have that. The only thing standing that even protects the United States at all is mutually assured destruction. Our submarine forces can launch ICBMs and darken the sky with our ICBMs. And so we're talking about the end of the world there. So we'll be in a reposition plan, Suleiman, to where the United States is now in its new world position, and China is now really now a major dominant global player. Russia is now going to come to the scene. I think Russia is going to wrap this up pretty soon. So we're just readjusting to this new world order. We're in the Agenda 2030 plan. We're going to be in the digital currency in all of the reestablished New World Order, where their big brothers watching. Palantir will be fully stated. Of course, we know all of us here in the space, we've all been identified and marked. We're logged and established as who we are. But that's fine. We fight the good fight until the very end. So it's basically game over as we knew it, and we know it. Iran is the only thing standing before Pax Judaica, and I think that the new global dominance will have Iran playing their part in it somehow. But and that I'll just land it there. Keep rambling.
Thanks for that, Andrew. Appreciate you. Let's get Manco into the conversation. Manco, thanks. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us. What's your thoughts about the cancellation of the Camp David meeting? Do you think it has any significance?
Thanks for having me, Suleiman. So, no, it sounds like they're still doing the meeting. They're just having it. He said he's having it at the White House instead of Camp David. So, I don't know. I think doing it at Camp David is just more of like sort of a recreational thing, right? The White House is more like doing it at the office. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think it really
Doing
changes
a Camp
anything.
David
I don't
isn't it
think it's
more of a
significant.
significance, like to put significance on the meeting as opposed to this is like a very unique situation, like we're gonna do either peace or war.
Yeah, these are all of this, and I said this earlier, this is all performative. If you were actually doing serious work, you wouldn't be announcing it. The reason he's announcing it is because this is all about like trying to intimidate Iran. It's all about just trying to be like, hey, we're doing a big meeting. We're going to discuss some big things. Maybe we're going to discuss bombing. You guys better be worried about that. Maybe you think about that before you like think about our next offer. Like he's been doing this like constantly for the past month.
But don't you feel like that's kind of so ridiculous? Like, does that really represent you, like, at all?
I mean, I don't know, man. This is the Trump art of the deal, and I don't know who he thinks he's fooling. I don't think it fools very many people anymore because he keeps doing it, but I guess it worked out well for him because he became a billionaire somehow.
I get that. I respect that. I totally wanted to get up here and be able to at least talk with you because I think I agree with you a lot, like ideologically as an American, and I see your point. I just struggle so hard, and not because I want to come at you or anything. Like, I can respect anybody's view on why they can support somebody, but I'm just like, there's so many of us that have just fallen away, and like seeing like, are you a Christian just by any chance or no?
Where is this coming from? Is this like a random person who came up, or is this someone who's been on the panel? I've never noticed them before.
No,
She's been
I
on the
just
panel a couple of times before.
Yeah, I've been on here a couple times. I just wanted to try to understand like your like I don't know. Maybe I just like I have too much emotion going into the whole entire like just watching, children be killed. Like, do you believe that Trump is controlled by Israel? Is that your stance or not?
No, I think he has to work with. I think that Jews, who are many of which are Zionists, control Washington, D.C. through various things like AIPAC and all that. And he has to work with them in order to get anything on his agenda done. If he could get away with not working with them, I think he wouldn't work with them. But, when you're in Rome, you got to deal with the Romans. Like that's how it works. And unfortunately, our government, particularly with Congress, is very much captured.
Yeah, but like couldn't you have seen like this actual second term going so differently had it not been for this kind of stuff? Like Trump could have easily become like literally JFK, but then he would have probably literally become JFK. And like everybody was like so with him. Even the people that were not like really really with him were still like, okay, I'm excited to see what's going to be done. Like there's an adult in the room. And now it's like back to this weird dramatic theater. And I understand that's always been a part of Trump, but like not in such a diabolical way, you know what I mean, to where it's just like kind of nauseating, like you're on a roller coaster and you just want to get off because you want to throw up because it's like the adult has left the room. It's so ridiculous. And I just feel like kind of
So
embarrassed, kind of like in the same sense how I felt so embarrassed under Joe Biden. I was just like utterly like, we are the dumbest, we are the laughing stock of the world completely. Like we just were. The dude couldn't stand straight, he couldn't speak straight. He was talking to Zelensky and called him Putin, or said that Russia needed to win the war. And I'm just like, dude, it's embarrassing. Although Russia will win. But anyway, you don't feel slightly embarrassed about what he's
yeah,
doing at all?
so here's my take on it, and this is why people get this perception that I'm like not anti-Israel or something. It's just a difference in the way I see the world, where I don't believe there's a military solution to Israel. And there's many, many, many people who have invested massive amounts of time going all the way back to the 1940s thinking that there's a military solution to Israel, and there's not. And they've been proven wrong over and over and over and over again for like 70 years or something more. And it's always been really bad. And I don't think that's going to change in the future. The solution to Israel is number one, it's going to be a generational struggle to break the United States away from Israel, because as long as Israel has its claws in the United States and can suck our weapons and money out, then that's going to be like too supportive. And also we defend them economically, diplomatically, etc. We prop them up too much. But that is something that can change, and that is something that will change over time, and it's in the process of changing now. And it's something we have to work on for the next like decade to make that happen. But the momentum is already there. That's number one. Number two is, I think the way that you get rid of Israel being, because the only reason Israel's such a problem is because it's a Jewish ethno state. And that is really the solution. It's the same solution that worked in Africa, which I disagree with it in Africa. I think that they should have been allowed to have, white countries in Africa. But when it comes to Israel, essentially fighting for the voting rights of the people who are not Jews to not only be recognized in Israel, because the Palestinians ought to be part of that state and ought to have voting rights, and the Jews ought to be a minority. And then also the ability of all of the refugees to go back and move back. And the reason the Jews stop all this, the reason the Israelis stop all this, is because they want to make sure they have an ethno state where they have a lock on all the political power, and they just have like a token Arab minority that lives there. So they could be like, oh, look, we're nice to the Arabs. Like, we treat them well. Yeah, you treat them well as long as they're not a threat to your political power. So I think over time, that is something that will happen, and it will be enforced through the same way you got, all the apartheid stuff, which is you enforce it through political pressure and economic pressure and stuff like that over a period of time. And I think it will take a long time, but I think that is achievable. And I don't think the military solution is achievable. And I don't really think Iran seriously does that either. I know this is where a lot of people are going to disagree with me. I think Iran is just using Israel and the opposition to Israel to cloak itself in like the moral high ground so that it can proclaim itself the leader of the Middle East, when what Iran really wants is to be the regional hegemon and dominate all of its fellow Muslim states.
I don't think so. I think that they have a lot better of of making peace out there if they weren't always thwarted with, these consistent attacks and psyops coming in from America. Like this is absolutely something we've done all over the place. Like we're not really I'm not one of those people who's like, I'm so sorry for my history. I'm so sorry our past was ugly. Like, history is history. It's all ugly. And if you give one country that doesn't have an ugly past, like, I'll give you $1,000,000. I don't have it, but I'll find it. You know what I mean? I'm not one of those kind of people. But when you start to look at how poisonous this relationship with Israel has been for so long, and like all of the things that we've done in order to cause instability all over the place. I mean, it's literally mass starvation all over the Middle East and all over the world, in fact, in order to like basically have everybody subdue to us. Like, I don't know, I am a Christian, so I don't believe that we are the end all be all. I don't believe that we have the authority to dominate the world and make everybody bend its knee to us, and that basically if we can't steal your resources from your country, then we're going to have to take you out. We're going to have to take your leaders out. Like, I don't believe that a nation that proclaims, and the majority of Americans, even if they're just Chinos, Christian in name onlys, right? They'll claim that they're Christian, and then but they want people to submit to them and their country and the will of their country like their
Well, what does that
God.
have to do with Christianity?
Well, I mean, how can you call yourself a Christian and you're like, oh, this is a Christian nation, but basically we want to be the supreme beings of the world. No, the supreme being of the world is God. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, but
our
if you're actually Christian, you should want Christianity to completely rule the world and conquer the world so that you can save
uh,
everyone. Like,
it, no,
what are we talking about? Like,
absolutely, that's not
that's how
even.
Christianity works.
No, that you
Uh,
shouldn't. No, you shouldn't. No, you shouldn't want that, because that's not what Christ came into. He was living in Judea, whatever, Israel, Palestine actually is what it was called. But still, he could have forced them to bend the knee there. He could have forced them to bend the knee there, and he gave them every
No,
opportunity. And he wanted
when
it to be a free
Christ
will, right?
sacrificed himself, he knew it would give rise to Christian empires who would do the Crusades, and he still did it anyway. And he knew that would be the
Uh,
result. So,
1054, bro. It broke off, and that's why the Crusades happened.
yeah, we thank God this space is not a religious space,
No,
but this is
I'm just saying.
perfect. No, yeah,
I'm
but
just
this is
saying.
what happens. This is what happens when we hear what Mango is saying is not all Christianity. It's not doctrine, but we will.
It's
This is
not.
not that space, but it's not
yeah,
even
but
close
like
to Christian
traditional
doctrine.
Christianity isn't
That's
this
not.
dumb,
That's not
like
doctrine.
feminized Christianity we have
No.
now where it's all touchy-feely, where like
No, that
you're not allowed to use force and you always have to turn the other cheek. Like that's not real Christianity, and it's
no,
not
that
what
I'm not
Christianity
saying
No.
that.
was
I just
No,
for
that's
all of
not.
its history
Yeah.
until like 50 years ago when the
but
liberals started to feminize it.
focusing on our country and where our borders are, that's fine. Going out to the rest of the world and basically by sword saying you bow
Right.
down and or
Yeah.
your head is off,
Listen,
that's
do
not
you
Hex.
understand the
Christianity.
That's hex.
lesson of
That's
World War II?
Christianity.
Here's the
All right.
problem is the
Didn't mean
lesson
to
of
turn
World
it
War
into a
II is that
religious
the
space.
United
I'm
States,
just like, I'm just going to end it here. I just feel like
okay, but
as a
listen,
Christian,
the United
especially watching
States
all of the
was a
Christians being
completely
slaughtered right
isolationist
now.
country, okay? The United States was a completely isolationist country. We didn't want to get involved in the intrigues of the world.
Yeah, and I
And
think that's what
as a
our
reward for
forefathers
our
had in mind.
isolationism, we got 2 world wars that we could have prevented if we were not isolationist. So we
No, we should
learned the
have just
lesson
let them
and we
play
stopped
out.
being
It's not our
isolationist
business. It's not our
because if
business.
you
None of
do
it is.
not
No.
proactively go out into the world and
Europe
prevent
wouldn't be the way it is
enemy
right
empires
now if
from, don't
World
just
War II
interrupt me,
would have
dude.
went
Let
the
me
other
just make
way.
my fucking point, okay? If you don't go out into the world and prevent the enemy empires from building up their strength first, eventually they're going to come for you. And that is why we sat back and we allowed the rise of Hitler and the rise of Tojo and all the stuff with the Japanese Empire. And eventually they came for us and we couldn't be isolationist anymore. The same thing would happen right now today with China. The same thing did happen to a lesser extent with Russia.
Guarantee
So
you.
eventually, if your enemies build up enough power, they are going to go on the attack and you're going to have to deal with it. You can't just put your head in the sand and pretend like as long as you stay isolationist, everyone's going to leave you alone because they don't.
No, my borders end on the East Coast and they start over here on the West Coast. You know what I'm saying? Like this is my country. When it gets brought to your door, you defeat the enemy where it is, and you just keep your troops here. We should have never got into World War II. I don't really care what anybody says. We should have never done that. We should have never done that. Let it go. Let it go.
Wait, you mean you wouldn't have done anything about Pearl Harbor? Just be like, oh, okay. You bombed.
Nope.
Actually,
everything, we'll
FDR
totally
knew
forgive
Pearl
you.
Harbor was coming. So, like, if you're going to try and make that excuse, FDR knew Pearl Harbor was coming. So don't even go there, man. I've been listening to your
Like,
bullshit
no, he
come.
didn't. It wasn't a conspiracy, and he didn't let it happen.
Oh,
on
bullshit.
purpose. That's insane.
Bullshit. He
thinking.
knew Pearl Harbor was coming. Like, I've listened to your crap here since I've gotten to this space.
I'm
Total
listening to your
horseshit.
crap right now.
Churchill was funded by the Jews through 40,000 pounds. Hitler made every attempt to go to the English and create peace.
Yep.
You're full of shit. You can't back up anything you say with any facts.
Yeah, I can back up a lot of stuff, but you have like crazy
Who are your
conspiracy
facts?
theories.
But there's no crazy conspiracy. I'm listening to people like David Irving, who's actually gone overseas and looked at the archives. What have you looked at? Your shit. All you've spouted is shit. Trump is a Jew.
I can
And-
tell
and
you're
you
very
can't-
triggered. Wait, did you just call?
No,
Trump a
I'm
Jew?
triggered by lies, man.
Trump is
I-
totally Jewish.
Dude, I don't understand where you're coming from. Like, Trump has humped the wall. He's prayed
I'm
at Rabbi
coming from
Schneerson's
reality,
grave. His
buddy. You
daughter
might wanna
married a
come
Jew.
over here.
His son just married a Jew, and she is an Epstein enabler. His lawyers are all Jewish. His mentor was Roy Cohen. Like, he was saved 6 times by Jewish bankers. Mark Levine says he's Jewish. He didn't place his hand on the Bible on his second term.
Do you have any
His
idea
father
how
gave to
common
Beach Haven Jewish Center,
bankers
Long
and
Beach
lawyers
Medical,
are?
Long Island Jewish Medical Center, paid for the private schooling of 3 Jewish children. They're fucking Jews. Like, where are you coming off with your shit?
1 second. 1 second. Can you stop swearing on the space, and can you stop?
I'm sorry, Solomon, but I've listened to him long enough, and all I hear is bullshit.
Right. Okay. Can you control yourself? I just told you to stop swearing, and I told you to calm yourself. Also, explain your point without losing your mind. And the last point is, I'm not that space where you can just say Jew, 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 Jew. We want to speak in an intellectual, academic
I'm
manner.
sorry,
No,
Solomon.
you just need to
I'm
calm
sorry.
down. Like, I don't know if you're doing it to derail the space or what. Just
No,
make your
I'm
point
not.
without-
I'm not
Well,
doing it to
well,
derail the space.
Well,
I
I'm
get
telling you now,
my.
there's a couple of things I don't want in the space. One is swearing, and the other one is I'm not a space which is like a Jew, 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 Jew. I think it's a Zionist issue. That's fine. Some people disagree, but the point being, just control yourself and calm down. Now, make your point without.
Yes,
saying,
sir.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I would like Mancos or whatever his name is to explain to me how Trump is not Jewish with every data point. Give me a data point that shows that Trump is not Jewish other than him saying the fact that I'm a Christian, except him not knowing one passage in the Bible or any books in the Bible.
Okay,
Nor
space,
has
1
he
second, the
ever been to.
Space is not about whether Trump's Jewish or not, right? You're not understanding the space. It's a geopolitical.
I understand
No,
it,
you
but
don't
he's sitting
understand
here
it 'cause I've told
spewing
you that 10
lies.
times now. You don't understand it because I've told you 10 times now. I don't really care if he's Jewish or not. I don't care if he's Christian or not. Irrespective of what the situation is, we've got Muslim, Christian, and Jewish Zionists who have all basically jumped into this war, supported it. Hegseth is a Christian. All the Arab nations who are supporting this are Muslims. So I don't really care if he's not or not. You can do a space on your own. There's actually every space of the mind. That's the only topic it's about, which is, Jews and if he's a Jew or if someone's a Jew or whatever. I don't really care about that. I'm talking about the geopolitics. I want you to bring it back. Well, I don't think you've got the ability to bring it back because I think you're just one of those people who just.
I can bring it back.
I don't think you can.
I can bring it back.
I've just asked you to do it 3 times, and you can just repeat the same point over again. Okay,
Can
let's see. Go ahead.
Can I bring it back to Lebanon?
Can you not interrupt? Can you interrupt
Sorry.
me, please? What's your thoughts on the Iran war?
My thoughts?
Yeah.
Man, we should not be over there. I think it's 100% lies. I think that that this bullshit. Sorry, I take that back. This is 100% a lie about the fact that they've been working on a bomb for 40 years but never achieve it. There's zero reasons why we should be over there, other than the fact that the CIA decides that they're going to throw coups all around the world and then throw in interventionalist policies, like and then basically lie to the American people how we've entered into every war in the basically the last 50 years.
Cool. Thanks for that. Joel, jump in, give us your thoughts about the Iran war.
Yes, hello. Thank you, Mr. Ahmed, if I'm pronouncing it correctly. I was going to say, I was going to speak a little bit about Iran, but I've been listening to a lot of things, so I don't want to go on for a long, long time. But we've had a treaty with Israel that originated from the Camp David Accords in 1977. And even though that's expired, we provide them with, I think, $3.8 billion a year, but with the stipulation that they use that money specifically and only to purchase arms from us. And on a yearly basis, they purchase anywhere from $9 to $20 billion. So the money is really flowing more so one way. And I'm not a believer in the precept that our political leaders are being led by the nose, so to speak, by the government of Iran. I'm sorry, by Israel. But let me get to Iran just for a couple of seconds. They have been almost the sole sponsor of terrorism around the world for the last 47 years, and many, many Americans were killed. And if we are able to shut them down, choke them off, which would have the direct effect of
How many Americans were killed by them?
by which one? Well, they sponsor all the
Wait,
various.
1 second. Let's deal with one issue. You said you said they're a state sponsor of terrorism, and you said they killed a lot of Americans. I'm asking you, which Americans did they kill?
241 Americans, American Marines in Beirut.
Iran killed. Iran went to Beirut and killed.
Wait, that was in the 1980s.
That was 83.
They sponsor these terrorists around the
So
region.
1 second.
Sure.
So you concede now that your claim that Iran killed Americans is false. Now you're talking about their allies, right? You concede that Iran.
I don't acquiesce to that.
So you just want to lie? Okay, give me an example of Iran killing Americans, please.
Well, the Beirut barracks was one.
Was Iran in Beirut? Was Iran? Okay, well, we're going around in circles because you're used to repeating talking points, so it shows your lack of intelligence. I'm asking you: did Iran directly, the nation of Iran, conduct the Beirut bombings?
No, and this is how they're able to say that
1 second.
We haven't killed Americans because they use proxies.
1 second, we're going to talk about the proxy thing in a second, but you agree, separating the allies or what you call the proxies, Iran themselves specifically did not kill any Americans. Do you agree with that?
I don't know that specifically.
Well, do you want to educate? Do you think you should educate yourself? Do you think you should educate yourself before you make such a statement?
Well, I didn't say that they.
You did. You said Iran. You made the statement. You said Iran, and Iran is the biggest state sponsor of terrorism. And then you said, and it killed Americans. So I asked you, Joel. Well, okay, you make the claim that Iran has killed Americans. Can you give me an example? And then you try to give an example of the Beirut bombings, which happened in Lebanon by the resistance in Lebanon. I said, okay, that's the allies, or as you call it, proxies. I'm talking about directly Iran. I said, oh, can you give me an example of when Iran's doing it? You said, oh, I don't know. I can't. I don't know anything specific.
Maybe I can't. However,
okay,
they are direct sponsors to.
Okay, so we're going to come to that in a second.
Like
so
Hamas.
The first thing is, 1 second, we're going to come to that. So we now agree that Iran did not kill anyone directly, as far as you know, because if there is an incident, then you're just uneducated on it. But Iran directly has not killed. Okay, they even had Americans hostage and they never killed them. So they could have had many opportunities to kill but they've never killed
That
Americans.
that
But
doesn't mean that they
but
are an
but
existential threat to.
we're gonna come to that. We're gonna come to that because I know you're just
Okay.
repeating talking points. Okay, so your first point is we've just debunked Iran did not kill anyone directly. Now, in terms of the allies of Iran, whether it's Hezbollah, as per you mentioned, 400 people by Hezbollah, what was the reason why American Marines were there?
Well, it was in
Is it in America? Was it
response.
in America? Is Beirut in America? Maybe it's because I spent a lot of time there, but I look in the American map, I can't see Beirut there. Is Beirut in America?
No, I will acquiesce that we were extending ourselves into a civil war that had nothing to do with us.
Okay, brilliant. Do you
Now, can I
also
say?
acquiesce? Do you also accept that the reason that bombing occurred was because the United States of America were not just so they were supporting, financing, funding, and providing intelligence to Israel as they murdered Lebanese and Palestinians in huge numbers in that year.
I don't know what the numbers are, but yes, that
Again,
is
I
that
implore
is
you to
true in a
educate
general
yourself on the
sense.
issue. My only
Can I make,
request to you, Joel, is that you educate yourself on the issue you talk about. But that's fine. They murdered a lot of people.
Mr.
Uh,
Ahmad? I'm well educated. I have a
well, it
master's
doesn't seem
degree
like it
in
because you're
political
talking
science and
about issues
history.
that you
But
don't know
can
the
I?
details about. Now, do you also accept that the United States of America fired shots into Lebanon, including but not limited to Bekaa Valley?
No, I can't. I can't debunk that. No,
Okay, brilliant.
no.
So the
But
reason I
what I
make
want.
that point to you, Joel, is the terror. So if I come to your house, Joel, let's say a friend of mine comes to your house, right? And let's say you've got a family. I don't know if you've got a family or not, Joel, and they start murdering your family members, Joel. And I'm there. I'm helping him out. I open the door for him. I even shot, some of the bits in your house. We've murdered about three of your family members. And then you, as a response, murder me, right? Am I the
Well,
terrorist?
disproportionate.
Am I the terrorist or are you the terrorist?
Well, if the retribution is so disproportionate, then and unnecessary, then the case can be made that I would be the terrorist.
Okay,
But
so if I
can I just?
murder your, so if I come, so basically, if my friend comes, murders your family, I don't know, hangs them, and then you basically, and it's not disproportionate because my friend murdered your entire family, right?
If
Your
you
entire
purchased the
family.
weapon, if you purchased the weapons that he used, and you told him where I lived,
Yeah.
and gave him other
And I helped
assistance,
him open the door. And then even I fired a few shots as well. I fired some shots as well myself. But he murdered like your whole family. Because remember, they killed about 20,000 people. So they murdered your whole family. They murdered your whole family. I murdered all your family, right? You then shoot me. According to you, according to your analogy, you're the terrorist. So anyone who murders Joel's family, and if Joel responds and kills one of the people, Joel's the terrorist, right? So this is what you're saying.
well,
You don't know how much love for your family as well.
that's
That's a
the way
separate
it's
point.
being interpreted. But in the real world, it is so difficult to tell who is responsible for what. But listen,
In the real world,
Mr. Ahmed, before you cut me off, if
yeah,
I
go ahead.
may, I'd
Yeah,
like
but I
to.
want you to. No, I'm not cutting you off. I'm dealing with each one of your individual points because you were scattergunning a lot of propaganda. So what I did was I systematically debunked each of your points. So I'll explain to you what I did in this conversation. You said Iran killed Americans. I debunked that point. You said the Allies killed Americans. I debunked that point because they actually weren't the terrorists. It was America and Israel who were committing terrorism on their nation, murdering them in huge numbers, taking all of their land up until Beirut. And so I debunked that point as well. So I've demonstrated that, and I also demonstrate you don't really love your family, but that's a separate point. So what I've demonstrated with all these points is to show that actually the terrorist was United States of America and Israel, and the response by the resistance in Lebanon, which isn't the same as Iran, but they are allies for sure. There's no doubt about this. that their response was actually, if anything, very proportionate because they made a response. The response resulted in Americans retreating, and then that resulted in the Israelis retreating. And after they murdered so many people, it was actually, from a defensive perspective, it was actually the right military decision to make. And
That's
the
a
only
little
reason
bit I
those
thought
lives were
you
lost
would.
was because they were invading someone else's land. They were murdering them. But it sounds like what your mind believes is actually not just for everyone, but you actually believe in, you don't even believe, you don't even value human life, because when I talked about your family being murdered, you were like, I don't know, it's like kind of whatever. So in terms
Mr.
of,
Ahmad, Mr.
in
Ahmad,
terms
might
of,
initiate.
in terms of coming back to it, so I've debunked all those points. Now, you do know, now coming back to it, do you know Israel and the United Israel has murdered more Americans and their allies than Iran has ever done. Do you know this?
I've heard that claimed,
It's not a
and I
claim,
don't
Joe.
think.
Let me educate you on that as well. This is why it's very good.
Yes,
So even though I'm
please do.
educating you, I'm also letting the audience know this information. This is what we
Okay.
do. We're here to
So,
educate.
Mr. Ahmad,
So
once
they
you've done
murdered.
that,
Have you heard of
okay.
something called? One second. Have you heard of something called the? You must have heard of this. This is a viral. Like even the most like person who doesn't know history would know. I would have heard of the USS Liberty. I'm sure you've heard of that.
Yeah, well, yes, of course.
Okay, do you accept that 30, was it 33 or 36 Americans were murdered by Israel in the USS Liberty?
Yes, that did happen.
Yes. Do you
An,
also accept that Israel murdered, bombed the King David Hotel with British and a worldwide uh, administrators in there? Do you accept that Israel murdered the, and by the way, Britain was a huge American ally at that point. Do you accept that Israel murdered hundreds of British and foreign workers, as in American allies, in the King David Hotel bombing?
I accept that, but
You
I think
accept
it's
that. Do you
arguable who
accept that
precisely
from
was the target.
1944 to 1947, the Israelis murdered hundreds of British military personnel?
Well, this was not even before their
Well, it's the same people who
gaining
became the, it's
statehood.
the Ergon, it's the Stern Gang, it's the same people who became the leaders. Actually, they became the president of Israel. Okay, now do you accept that Israel murdered over this time? Oh, sorry, but basically after that, Israel murdered, by the way, France was a major American ally at that time. Do you accept that Israel murdered the French ambassadors and UN ambassadors and actually hung them at that time in after their creation?
I can't say that it was flat out murder. We don't know that they weren't targeting someone else, even though of course their intelligence services are
I'm
top
talking about
shelf.
when they hung. When you hang someone, it's not about intelligence. I'm talking about when they hung people.
I'm sorry, when they what?
When they murdered people directly.
Harm people.
Okay. Do you accept that Israel has murdered, in addition to that, hundreds of Americans, Brits, Western people, journalists such as Rachel Corrie, such as Tom Hardin,
Yes,
such as Shireen Abu Akleh, such as the 40 American citizens that have been murdered in the last 2 years? Do you accept that Israel's murdered all those people?
yeah, those I
Okay,
accept,
so do
Mr.
you
Ahmad.
accept
And
that when we take,
I'm not here as a
do you
representative
accept
for Israel.
that
I'm
as
just
a, I don't know what you're here as, do you accept that when you take Iran, which you cannot even name one person, and you take Israel, where I've demonstrated hundreds, it's probably about 1,000 people, Israel has murdered more Western people than, has murdered more Americans and their allies than any other nation?
well, there's never been any kind of audit done. But Mr.
Oh,
Ahmad,
well, what do you mean by an
I
audit?
mentioned the
It's
very
literally
first thing I
history.
mentioned
Joel,
was
it's not an audit, it's history. So, based on what you're saying, based on your thesis was this, let me relay back to you. Your thesis was Iran has murdered Americans, I debunked that. Is Iran's allies murdered Americans, and they are terrorists, I demonstrate that actually America and Israel are terrorists. Based on that claim, you said that they are an existential threat to America, and actually, I demonstrated that based on your parameters, Israel is actually the existential threat to America, and therefore you should be asking for the United States of America to invade Israel. Go ahead.
Well, my original statement was my opening volley. Maybe you shot it down, yes. But based on a number of things that I heard from the other guests, I just wanted to reply to one or two of them. And let me, we are at the end of the Cold War, we became, so to speak, the world's sole superpower. China has I think, a larger economy than ours now, and for centuries, it's been their long-term goal to be what we are, or what we've been for the last several decades. If we can be successful in whatever our foreign policy and military policy is in Iran, we can probably we can do a lot toward not neutering, but containing China, because they are certainly an adversary, if not an enemy. Wouldn't everyone here like the United States, rather than China, to be the most influential country in the world? Would you, Mr. Ahmed?
Would I like the United States of America to be an influential country over China? Is that your question?
Yes.
The answer to that question is you can't say yes on its own, so it's yes without Israeli control. So with Israeli control, no, because with Israeli control, all I've seen is over the last 26 years, specifically, although you can go and expand it a lot more, is the murder and mayhem of so many innocent civilians. I find it horrific to see. I just love every human life. You don't even value the life of your family, but for me,
No,
I value every single human life.
That's personal
And
slander,
every
Mr. Ahmed, and
sorry, go ahead.
Because maybe if my assessment is blatantly incorrect, then I am humbled by it. But for you to say that I do not value human life is just a personal attack and slander. But I appreciate
I'm
where
saying
you come from.
I demonstrate that you don't actually. No, you don't actually value human life, because like I said, I don't want any person to die, so I don't do it. But you actually don't value human life, because when I gave you the thought experiment and I said to you, well, if somebody comes to your house and murders all your family, do you think it would be an appropriate response to basically, attack the person who's there helping the person murder your family? And you were like, well, it depends on proportionality. So you didn't value the life of your own family. So that's just the example. So I'm just basing it on your own words. You also didn't value the lives of the Lebanese. Can I just
Are you
finish my
saying
point?
that because they did fail to protect my family?
Yeah, and the other point that demonstrated your lack of value of human life was when I explained to you how the Israelis and the Americans facilitated the murder of so many people in that region in 83. You seem to just brush it off. So those are just two examples of you demonstrating that you don't really value human life. But go ahead, continue.
If a group of people killed my family, those who
Not a group of people. I said two people.
with them directly.
I didn't say, Joel. I said two people in our thought experiment. If you remember, I'm trying to remind you thought experiment. I said that if my friend came and murdered all your family, and I helped him, I facilitated it, I opened the door for him, and while I was there, I even fired a few shots. And I said, in that scenario, when they've murdered your whole family and you were to shoot me, would that be an appropriate response? You said, well, I don't know. It just depends. It's so complex. We don't know.
No,
my family is kind of annoying. But do continue.
It would be justifiable because you may not have directly fired a bullet into my wife, my children, but you assisted in the effort to extinguish the lives of my family.
Exactly. Thank you for improving your answer. So anyway, you asked a question about China. What was your question?
Well,
sorry, do you want to add something? I answered my question. Was there anything else you wanted to add? Because I don't want you to feel like I didn't give you a chance to talk. The only thing I was doing was dismantling each of your elements of your statement because I think that's very important to do in order to educate someone. But do relate anything else you want to add.
I heard a previous speaker uh, uh, making points, making claims of the abuse of Palestinians that live in Israel. And isn't it true that Arabs, whether they be Palestinians or Jordanians, or if the Arabs are, uh, they may freely vote, they may run for office in Israel. And I know I might be coming off sounding like, you know, the number one defender of Israel, which I'm not, but I just believe in the honesty of truth. And
You believe in what? You cut off there. You believe in what?
the honesty of telling what I believe is the truth. And but
Okay. Well, you
overall,
don't. The only problem is you don't have much truth to tell. But go on, continue.
overall, my main point overall, geopolitically, is that the United States becoming stronger and China either remaining as they are or becoming weaker is in our interest.
Joel, can I ask you a
Because,
question on that? Can I ask you a question on that?
well, of
Do
course,
you think that the current decision by the, by the way, I do appreciate you coming on. Like, we have people on the stage who have deplorable views and opinions, and yet they're on the stage because the whole point of the stage is to listen to people and hear their points. So, again, your claim is this: that you want the United States of America to be stronger. You want China to be not as strong as the United States of America. Do you believe, when you look at the decisions that have been made in terms of this war, do you think the United States of America is stronger or weaker since going to war with Iran?
I'm disappointed in how it's been progressing.
You didn't answer the question. You just
I
said you're disappointed. Has the
no,
United
I
States
know
of America gone stronger or weaker? And I'll help you with
we're.
some data
It
points
doesn't
if
make
that's
it.
okay.
We are not stronger because of our military action in Iran. No,
Are you weaker?
probably yes, yes, in
Okay.
many ways in terms of world
So you
opinion.
accept that the decision to go to war with Iran has made the United States of America weaker. And as per your original thesis, one of the things you want is you want a strong America and a weaker China. And actually, what's happened after this war, as per your concession, is the United States, in a number of avenues, and I think it's fair to say that the way you expressed it is accurate, in a number of ways, America has become weaker, while the, as you would call it, maybe the enemies of America or the rivals of America have become stronger.
Yes, but is it not possible for the situation to improve, to favor the United States more so than,
How do you propose that happens, Joe?
well, originally I had hopes for the Iranian people rising up and somehow
They did.
overthrowing that regime,
They
and
the so
the
Joel,
crown for the
Joel
crown prince to take over, who's not going to be a dictator. He's not going to be a monarch. Uh, if you take him at his word, he's going to be he would be a constitutional monarch with
Okay, you just drag it on. Let me
a
just deal with that
parliamentary
point. Okay,
democracy
Joel,
and
let me respond
independent
to that point. I know
judiciary.
there's a Cal Bundy in the chat who said let him talk, but I'm not going to let you just carry on filibustering. I know this guy's one of your fans, but I need
Who's one
to
of my fans?
specifically. I'm joking with this guy. Don't worry, no, don't worry, it's an inside joke. So Joel, the to deal with your point again. So the United States of America went to war against Iran based on this false notion that you're relaying about the Iranian people rising up against the current government.
I didn't say that
And
was the basis. I said that was my hope for the
yeah,
ultimate
and that was
outcome.
the hope of Donald J. Trump. And I'm saying it's based on your fallacious understanding and your fallacious hope that has resulted in America becoming weaker as per what you wanted, no, as per what you didn't want, and China becoming stronger. And so when we
Yes, but you didn't answer my question.
Oh, sorry. What was your? Oh, well, let me just finish this point, and then I will answer your question because I don't even remember what your
Sure.
question was.
Okay.
So, in terms of the other element of your the other element of your point, the Iranian people did rise up, Joel, and maybe you've not been listening to the
Yes, and
news.
40,000 of them were mowed down. Yes.
Yeah, that's fake news. 40,000 weren't more down. This is just propaganda. You need to wake up and
Well,
actually read things rather than listening to fake propaganda that has no basis in reality. But such is the level of a person's lack of logic, as per you, our conversation here, that you don't even understand that to kill 40,000 people in 2 days is extremely unlikely and habitually almost impossible. Now, coming back to the point in the regards of what I was saying before you interrupted me, I don't know, your Cal Bundy, your fan on the chat maybe will ask you to not interrupt me, but the claim that the claim that the Iranian people didn't rise up is indeed false. For the Iranian people did rise up. They rose up in huge numbers
twice. Yes,
and they
twice.
stood for the current government and they disavowed the American murder of young children and the American bombing and the Israeli bombing of their country. For the people did rise up and they united together against the adversary that is your extremism and your terrorism. And that's the reality of it because you
What?
make these false excuses and make these false claims about other nations that are so far away from you in order to go there and murder them in huge numbers. And even when your excuses are debunked and your ability to murder more people is destroyed, you still hold on to the false claims that made you do it. For murder is what you basically want, and that's in reality why you wanted to lie. Yes, lie that there were 40,000 people murdered when there was not. According to Iran, there was
According to the according to the
3,117 people. What?
according to the Iranian government, you're
According to the
saying?
Iranian government, yes, there was 3,117 people murdered. Those people, those names were given of each individual. A large proportion of them were police officers and actually pro-government people who were murdered by whom? They were murdered by you, the CIA and Mossad, who
Oh,
infiltrated and basically helped murder them. So you guys once again were behind the
okay.
murder of a lot of people during those protests. And
Sure.
I
Can I
would
ask you just one brief
hazard a
question?
guess
Very
that
brief.
you probably were responsible for the murder of the majority of those people on that day. But do go ask me a question. Sorry, go ahead.
Do you think that the people of Iran are better off now under a theocracy than they were under the monarchy of the Shah?
Yeah, they are, and I'll explain to you why.
Okay.
So economically, they're not better because economically, your country once again placed evil sanctions on them in order to starve the most, in order to starve the most poorest people in the country. For again, murder and starvation is but your way. But what is a nation? And so, if one is able to answer that question, you realize that they are, but indeed, far better. Because what is a nation? But a nation is a country that has control over their own land, sovereignty over their own nation, the
Autonomy,
ability
yes.
to
Well, I agree with that. Yes.
the ability to make their own decisions. And so when I look at Iran and I see the fact that it is a sovereign nation, and you look at United States of America and it is not a sovereign nation, your country has been completely occupied, destroyed from within by these Zionists in all aspects of life, including and not limited to causing a population collapse. you realize that actually being sovereign is important for you can get out of the problems of economic issues. And we're seeing that right now. For right now, Joel, you're seeing
Okay.
Iran, Joel, you're seeing Iran have control over the Strait of Hormuz. Your president is now going to allow them to continue having the control over the Strait of Hormuz, and they will become economically better. You now see them having the ability to trade with many other nations because they've seen Iran basically dominate the United States of America. And so you talk about, is Iran in a better situation? I would say right now, if you look at Iran now, the way it's going, it will likely become the fourth biggest superpower in the world, economically, militarily, in all aspects. And so, to answer your question, is Iran in a better situation now than it was under the Shah? Yes, I'd say it was, because it now is a sovereign nation as opposed to under the Shah. The Shah all killed a large number of people under his rulership.
Okay.
And once again, he was overthrown. And the reason he was overthrown was by the people, for the people of Iran rejected him as
Yes,
a
that's
leader.
true. Mr. Ahmad, may I have 10 to 15 seconds and then I'm
Of
going to
course you
sign
can.
off?
Go ahead,
Just to
Joel.
say something.
Yeah, go for it.
It wasn't the United States that gave away royal lands to peasants. It wasn't the United States that liberalized certain aspects of the lives of women. It was the Shah that did that. That's all I wanted to see, but I'm going to
You didn't really answer the
further
question. You just
research.
talked about why liberalism is good. But again, why are you claiming that liberalism is good? Because as someone who's got a picture of the cross on his bio, liberalism goes against many ideals that are found in religion. But obviously, you're such a confused individual, you probably don't even know this. But why is it that you believe that liberalism is better than being conservative? Because we see the destruction that liberalism has caused in society. We see OnlyFans, we see a society in the West where there is a low population rate, a low birth rate. People aren't getting married. Men under the age of 30 are not having partners. It was on 30% of under 30s are not even having sexual relations. For the liberalization of the society is the
All those things are true.
destruction. The
All those things are
liberalization of the
true.
society is a destruction of the
Oh,
society. But that being said, maybe you don't care about that, and that's fine. You can have your liberal ideals, but who are you to think that you can go to a foreign nation and
okay.
try and colonize their mind and tell them to have the same viewpoints as you? For they don't want those viewpoints. They are but a different culture and a different society. So once again,
All
that
right, sir.
answers your question.
Suleiman, isn't it weird?
Before I
Isn't it
say good
weird?
afternoon, I'm
Well,
Go
sorry.
ahead,
I
Hussein.
beg your pardon, sir. Before
Go
I
ahead,
say
Hussein.
good
1 second,
afternoon,
Joel. Joel, 1 second.
you know,
You've talked a lot. Let me see what Hussein's going to say. Go ahead.
no,
I
I just
need
want to
8
make
seconds.
one. Yeah, pipe down. I just wanted to make one comment. I mean, isn't it weird that all these Zio monarchists, they're like whole gripe. They're like final thesis about why Iran is so bad under the quote unquote regime of the RGC always stems down to how degenerate the women should have been or how they were when the Shah was in power. It always stems down to, oh, but the women had more rights and the women could have wore less clothes and they had more freedom. It always stems down to it. It's either they had family in Iran before who were persecuted, quote unquote, and or the women are not as degenerate as they could be.
Well, Mr. Ahmad just stated that the people of Iran did try to rise up, but
No, I didn't. I said the people of
aside, Mr.
Iran
Ahmad, I
rose
want you to give
up.
me.
Joel, please listen. Comprehension skills are very important. I said the people of Iran rose up against the United States of America and Israel. That's why I said they united together
Oh,
against the United States of America and Israel.
they hated us and the British. Even the Shah was distrustful of the British. Mr. Ahmad, can you
I don't
give
know
me
what this
3
talking about,
things to do some more
bro.
research
1
on
second,
very
Joel.
quickly?
Joel,
Yeah.
Joel. 1 second. I actually don't know what you're talking about now. You're just kind of scattergunning.
Well, you're not
1
listening.
second, Joel. Joel, 1 second. I'm gonna come to you in a second. Let me just bring Joel into the conversation. I think he might want to talk to you anyway. Go ahead, Joel.
Yeah, look, I'm just disturbed by something I heard today, and Joel's up here kind of defending it, or I don't know if he's just blind to the facts. But today, there's a guy by the name of Ori Solomon who was running an illegal biolab. That biolab had vials of viruses in his home. The policeman who went into the home said he felt deathly ill because of going into the home. And this guy just had the charges dropped against him. Someone he's associated with is facing 20 years in jail, although he ran a different operation and only had vials of influenza. Just so happens this Ori Salman is Israeli, and I've begin to question, like, you know, we let this guy off on charges. We let the intelligence director, the Israeli intelligence director, return home after soliciting minors for sex. We let the Israeli intelligence officer who ran the largest spy ring in America go back to Israel. We allowed the suspects that were being interviewed still during 9/11, they were allowed to also go back. I mean, when does this abusive relationship end? Right? Because if someone by any other nationality did this, they get charged, as we see, because there's someone who also got supplies from China. They know it's the same supplies because they had fake COVID tests that they were selling, and it's the same fake COVID tests. And the Chinese man is facing 20 years in jail. The Israeli just got off. Right? So, Joel, when
Yes.
does this end? And you think Americans are just going to keep their eyes blind to the repeated special treatment that happens to Israelis that does not happen to anyone else? And if you call it out, you're an anti-Semite.
Well, I think
When
at this
literally we're
point,
just calling we're calling out facts.
I think at this point it's going to vary from one, not extreme, but from one emphasis to the other, depending on what presidential administration we have, who controls Congress. But Mr. Ahmad, what I wanted to ask you, can you just give me two
But
or
can you
three
answer the
specific
question?
things?
How long do you think we're going to keep our eyes closed to this? It's like reverse anti-Semitism. It's special treatment if you're Israeli. If you're not, you can't get away with anything. If you are, you can solicit a 12-year-old for sex, be talking to her for 6 months, fly to America, bring condoms to go meet a girl who's underage, and you get to go back home if you're Israeli. If you're not, you go to jail. If you have vials of weapons, basically a bioweapon, in your warehouse, which is actually illegal, and you're selling fake COVID kits, and who knows if you're not the one spreading the COVID, you're okay to go back home if you're Israeli.
Well, that's not equal. That's not equal protection under the law. That's favoritism toward one group over another. The last thing I wanted to ask,
but that
Mr.
has
Ahmad,
been the problem in America.
Oh, I know it has. I know it has. But Mr. Ahmad, can you
look at the Somalis that were doing that had some fraud, and then the Jews that had all the fraud in Florida, which you can add a zero to the end of that number, and that wasn't on the news at all. The rabbis that were committing the same fraud that two Somali men were committing, and the Somali men that was like not even 100 million, the other two had $2 billion worth of fraud, never made the newspaper. And it happened at the same time.
Well, it should be eradicated no matter who's doing it. Mr. Ahmad, you
so
shot
who's the
down
evil
several
one
of
here?
my arguments. I just wanted to ask you, can you cite maybe 2 or 3 specific events or issues? Because I'd like to do some research and perhaps be a better guest in the guest in the future.
Yeah,
You
just look
mentioned the
at
Liberty. Okay.
Yeah. Just look at how many people actually were killed during those protests. Look at how many people Israel has killed, how many Americans Israel has killed. Look at the ambassadors and the British people and the Americans that Israel has killed. Look at the American journalists Israel has killed over the last year or so, or last since its existence. And hopefully that should give you an understanding that your thesis, based on your thesis that the country you should be attacking and invading is Israel.
Okay, these are 3 very serious things, and I am going to try to get up to speed on those. But I have to get going, so thank you for having me,
Joel,
and good afternoon. Yes.
Joel, Mr. Snesser, please also, in your research, the Beirut bombing, October 1983, 241 American servicemen. Please do your research. Mossad knew all about it, but they held that information back for their plan. Please research that. Do not use Google or it'll say, oh, that's that's
Oh, I know.
conspiracy.
I know.
Go in and research that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm writing these things down
Good.
now.
Good, because I was in Beirut, Lebanon, sir, in 1982, 83. I was there as a U.S. naval officer in amphibious assault, okay, doing boat ops there. Okay, so we know about the IDF. We knew how they operated, sir. They are
Okay.
not our friends, sir.
I appreciate that. Is this truth or found? I can't read the entire name. Is that you, sir?
This is Andrew.
Okay.
You can look me up, Andrew Sheets. I'm a retired U.S. naval officer, over 20 years active duty. I've done the research, sir. Please research. And then don't just repeat what you hear. We're not here trying to beat you up or gang up on you, but a lot of people don't really know until they research. These people in here in this space, they've spent years and years of research. And the host here, Suleiman, look at his profile. He does the research, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So, sorry, can you give me your Twitter your X handle?
It's up there, Andrew. I'm up there, Andrew
Okay, you
Sheets.
can.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
use a fake name or anything. Andrew Sheets.
yeah,
Yep.
you can just check Andrew out.
Yeah.
Okay, let's bring in. Thanks for that. Cool.
Thank you
Thanks
much.
for that, Joel. Thanks for coming. Appreciate
Best
it.
wishes, everyone. Good night.
Thank you. Bye bye. Let's go to. Who should we go to? Let's go to Rock. Go ahead, Rock.
Hey, Suleiman, good show tonight. I mainly came up to go after what the hell his name, Mancoos, but I see he left the room. So, yeah, I mean, he talks like
Well, he's
he
not here at the
uses.
moment, so you can
Yeah,
talk to him.
I got you. I
He'll probably
got
be
you.
back, so you
All
can
right, right.
come
Well,
up.
let me back off.
I'm
I'll
glad he
catch him.
brings. Well, it's good that he brings people up to the space because
Yeah,
initially not many people were coming up. So cool.
yeah. I'll catch you another time, Suleiman. Good space call. Thanks for bringing me
Thanks for
up.
that.
I know.
Appreciate it. No problem. Thank you. Let's go to the forgiver.
Hi, good evening. I just wanted to just say thank you, Suleiman, for all of your great interviews. I really loved the one with Lawrence Wilkerson. He's a good friend of mine, and I was also going to respond to something Mango said, but I think there's a bunch of people with their hands up, so I'll give them this. This way. I think Socrates and Paul G. I think wanted to speak, so I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Go ahead, Socrates.
Hi, Suleiman.
Wow,
How are
so
you doing?
Mancos really does make the space interesting. Like people actually do come up to the space to have a chat when he's here.
Well, you make it interesting, Sule. Let's be honest.
I don't know. It seems like you all love him. I'm feeling left out now. Manco's getting too much love here. Let's go to who did we say? Socrates. Go ahead, Socrates.
Can you hear me?
Sorry.
Are you able to hear me? Can you hear
Yeah.
me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Suleiman. I think I've been listening to you for quite a long time actually, but the last few interviews have been exceptionally well. And I think there's a lot of awareness that's happening, which I never thought would be, powerful. And I remember like about 18 years ago, I had a Jewish professor who taught me everything that I need to know about the Middle East. He was anti-Zionist, and I thought I was actually maybe influenced by him, but then I also did a lot of research, and it came to be true that what he was saying was actually right and correct. So when people say come here and say Jews, 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 I think you are right enough to stop the earlier person. I think what we are talking about is the Zionist. The Zionism, it is going to continue to expand. By the way, so far as that mentality does not stop, we predicted it then, and it is true now, and it will be true tomorrow. If they don't stop that expansionist mentality, if they're going to take land from Egypt, from Jordan, and all that, they're going to continue this expansionist project that they have. And so far as that continues, this problem is not going to be solved. And I think people need to understand the end goal. And if they really want to solve the problem, they have to stand against that expansionist mentality. And I think the support, the military support, the political cover, the diplomacy cover in the United Nations, and everything that it has, by the use of United States needs to stop. There needs to be a decoupling of the United States and Israel, or the Zionist state. And I think that will be a good start to the solution in the Middle East. But so far as those are, allies, and they continue to be supporting each other, or at least the U.S., putting up all the covers for Israel. And then so far as the Israeli, or at least the Zionist state, has that expansionist mentality, this issue in the Middle East will never be solved. So it is really, really important what you guys are doing here, educating the people here so that they change their view, so that they, stop the support for the Israel through their politicians. If we can get to that point, I think that will be a very, very systematic and good solution. It's going to take a long time. It's going to require a lot of patience. But I do see a lot of people are doing it, mainly Suleiman, Beatrix, and everybody that's here. I think we are really, really educating a lot of people, but it's going to require a lot of patience. And I really, really admire all of you for doing that work, the heavy lifting. And I really admire all of you guys here. And the people, the ex-military, like Andrew, God bless you. God bless you. Thank you.
Thanks for that. Socrates, appreciate your comments. Let's go to Trauma. Trauma, Japan.
Hey, Suleiman, Beatrix, Andy, Andrew, Joa, everyone on the panel, thank you for having me. I hope everyone's having a good day. Joa, thank you so much for bringing that up about Las Vegas, because that's a really, really important parallel to draw between what's happening in a broader context as well as our everyday lives for the people that come into contact with these criminals. Because that, I'd like to remind everyone that that bioweapons laboratory that was discovered happened to be found because it was being used as an Airbnb, and there were people staying at that Airbnb that got deathly sick, and no one talked about those people anymore. And that place where that house is at is less than 2 miles from where I live at. So not only it's hard to quantify how headlines like this just get washed over and people think that it can't happen to them. And then I wake up and read that things like this, government officials from Israel coming here to sexually assault children, the thing that Alexandrovich was charged with, and then the bioweapons lab at the same time. It is honestly something that I really appreciate you highlighting in the face of people that are not aware of this. So thank you, Joe, for bringing that up. And hopefully we find out someday what happened to the people who got sick at that Airbnb, because it's being purposely whitewashed. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, it's sick. It's absolutely sick. And if it was, look, if it was once, twice, like, okay, you could. Yeah, it's hard to make an argument, but still, you can make an argument. But it's not just these times. It's like over and over and over and over. This is happening, right? Like the one thing I didn't put in that post I made about the case in Nevada was the Somalis, the rabbis in Florida. We're doing $2 billion worth of fraud. Meanwhile, the Somalis were all over the news, and the rabbis were nowhere to be seen, right? And it was the same time frame on top of it, right? So over and over this happens. Oh, here's a good one that you'll love. The Lev Tahor, which is this like Israeli group that lives in Guatemala, I think it is. Well, they're all over Latin America, but there was a guy in New York City that was funding them, paid them to take this 12-year-old girl and her, I think it was her 11-year-old brother, and abduct them from the US and bring them into their sex trade. He was found to be funding it. He served 6 months in jail because the excuse was he got sentenced to 6 years, which was already low, but still, he got sentenced to 6 years. He only wound up serving 6 months because he had two special needs children at home, and supposedly his wife couldn't take care of them by herself, so he only had to serve 6 months. You tell me what guy traffics children, supports an international ring of sex traffickers that have been wanted for years and keep getting loose, um, who also are Israeli. The other guy is also Israeli from New York, and does 6 months for trafficking kids, literally kids that were kidnapped from U.S. soil, right? And those aren't the only kids that this group left to whore have kidnapped from America, right? It's over and over and over this happens. Whether it's the dancing Israelis or the guy that was running the spy ring in America, like it constantly over and over. Dude, if this was like a friend you had, you'd be like, yo, your girl's abusive. You gotta let that go. You gotta stop making excuses for her. And people still come up here. They'll come up here on other spaces and make excuses for this. Like there is no excuse for Alexandrovich. He didn't wind up showing for the court hearing either, by the way. It's completely out of the news cycle. And we literally let a man come here, solicit children for sex, and send him back home. And I guarantee you, if that guy was French, British, other allies we have, that wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened.
True. And what a coincidence. The judge that let him go happened to be also a member of the tribe, while the acting attorney general for the entire state also happens to be a member of this tribe that just repeatedly does these activities. When you look at it, yeah, it's disgusting.
Yeah, you have a problem when religion. Look, I don't have a problem with Judaism. I have a problem with any religion that protects people of their own religion and break the law to do so. That is a problem. You wouldn't allow that from any other religion whatsoever, right?
Agreed.
And if that's your standard, that hey, you can commit terrorism, you can violate children, you can have weapons, a bioweapon in your home, and it's okay. Just because we need to protect you no matter what you do. You're a terrorist group. It's a terroristic religion, right? Or at least terrorism has taken over it, one or the other. And I think terrorism has taken over it. They've gotten so radicalized that for the story I told yesterday, the girl who wouldn't kill a roach and stood in front of a car because of a bug on the street, risked her life, and then are posting pictures of dead children in Gaza like it's celebrating. Right? They've been so radicalized that it's insane. Something needs to be done to de-radicalize these people.
Hi everybody. Hi,
Oh, who's this?
it's me. It's your co-host that Jonah keeps trying to regime change. Hi to everybody on the panel, Andrew, Andy, Brother Hussein, of course, Manko, everybody else, Jonah, the two Suleimans, of course, everyone. I just want to say that guy, I came up a bit earlier, but then I had to drop off because I got busy. But that guy that Suleiman was speaking to, debating, I just checked his profile really quickly at that time. And that guy, right, has got his faith all over his profile. Christ and blah, 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 Christian. I think whether you're religious, whether you're Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Hindu, whatever, but I just think as a human being, you have to have like at least a very little common sense to find the truth. That guy's profile was all over littered with Islam is taking over America. And I just feel like, in what world do you still think that? Delusional people. But just going to what you were talking about, Joa, exactly the same happens in the UK, right? So one of our police forces literally posted, I think it was in the last, let me tell you when it was exactly, just to be 12 hours ago. This guy called Matthew Ely, E-L-Y, you can look him up, in Swindon, which is towards the west of London. They found over 1,000 images on his phone and photos and videos, which a lot of them he had made, showing child rape and sexual torture that he was sharing in a ring of perverts online, all child abusers, all of them, right? And And he was making these images showing child rape, distributing them, and the police officers called it, I quote, the most sadistic and degrading child abuse images they have ever encountered. And these police officers are from a special unit. I see this stuff day in, day out, and they thought this was the most sadistic and degrading child abuse image they have ever encountered. Do you know what sentence he got? He got 28 months in prison, suspended. What that means is that he doesn't have to go to jail. For 28 months, just under 2.5 years, he's free. If he commits another offense, then he has to serve that 28 months in prison. Otherwise, he's free. It's suspended. The sentence is suspended. And that is the UK justice system. Now, we'll see Elon post a lot about grooming gangs from 15 years ago, but nobody talks about this. The Labour Party in the UK has had so many councillors get done for child porn. These are politicians in our country, but you won't see it in the news unless you go and look it up. It's disgraceful. And it's happening both sides of the pond. It's normalizing this. It's disgusting. But back to you, Jonah.
Can I just make a point real quick, Beatrix?
Yeah, go ahead, brother. Same course.
Yeah, good to see you again. Just because I see Manco's, it says listener, but I don't know if he's on a speaker. But I just got to make this point before he dips out again. He said earlier while I was at the gym I couldn't speak, but he said that Israel never lost a war. That's not true. They lost in Lebanon twice already. And then he also said he kept talking about the enemies of America. They shouldn't be allowed to strengthen up or whatever. But my question is, like, why are they quote unquote enemies of America? What made them enemies of America? Why are they not allies? Mancos, I don't know if you're on this panel, but I see you as listener. But that was just a question I had for him.
Yeah, so obviously we're talking about wars that were intended to destroy the state of Israel, and Israel won those decisively. The little brush fires they deal with in Lebanon and stuff like Gaza is of absolutely no threat to the Israeli state. And even if they were to lose, it wouldn't put the Israeli state at risk at all. So that's not a military solution. What I was talking about is this idea that you're going to militarily overpower Israel and destroy the Israeli state. It's not going to happen. It's been tried for generations. And as far as the United States, we go by the US national interests. And sometimes there are other countries and they want to build empires and they want to be hegemons and they want to take us out in order to do that. And that makes them our enemies because they want to knock us off the throne. So, we can't really help that. There's a lot of countries in the Middle East that want to cooperate with us. Iran doesn't. Iran wants to be the hegemon, and that's why we end up in an adversarial relationship.
So the whole thing about the Israeli thing is just situational, right? So in 2000 and in 2006, they systematically lost and were forced out through military through military action. By the way, that's that. So if you're saying like, oh well, the complete destruction of Israel, well, in 2000 and in 2006, that wasn't the goal. The goal was to defeat Israel and get them out of South Lebanon, and both times they lost. Now, when it comes to the world power,
you're talking about defense. You're not going to
so in 2000,
Israel unless you can do offense on the Israeli state, and nobody's able to do that.
Yeah, well, no, but hold on. So Israel occupied South Lebanon for 18 years. I mean, what would you consider the resistance coming in? That would be offense to get them out, right?
No, it's not. It's a defensive war. You would agree it's a defensive war, right?
No, I would agree it's offense actually. That they came in and offensively took them out of
the border. Why didn't they invade Israel? Why didn't they finish the job?
Because the goal wasn't to invade Israel. The goal was to defeat them and get them out of South Lebanon. But the whole thing.
Point of the resistance, if you can't defeat Israel, you're just leaving Israel in place forever.
But Israel,
who's tried to eradicate? You said you made a claim that for multiple years, multiple countries have tried to eradicate Israel. Who's tried to eradicate Israel?
So in like what was it, 1948, in the Yom Kippur War, and in 1973, these were all wars that were designed to conquer and utterly defeat and destroy the state of Israel.
Yeah, but you said it happens all the time. It hasn't happened for 50 years since the
Yeah,
beginning of
you're right,
Israel.
because they kept losing and they realized it was a dead end strategy. The problem
Well,
is
it's
right
not that they
now,
kept losing, man. Cause
Iran.
it's
Stop! Don't interrupt. I'm in the middle of responding to Jonah.
yeah, just
So
don't crash out about it
Iran,
though.
just can you not interrupt so that I can have a response to Joah? Jesus
I won't
Christ!
interrupt, man. Cause
So
just don't
then,
crash out.
who's that speaking?
It's me, sir.
It's
Hussein.
good. It's good advice, Manko.
Hussein.
Just don't crash out.
Yeah,
Just we're having a
Hussein.
normal conversation.
Just you need to know that I know what you're doing. So don't think that you're smart, okay?
I'm not doing
So
anything.
Joe,
You're just crashing
yeah,
out.
yeah, you are. No, I'm not crashing out. And what you're doing is you're interrupting me over and over again just to try to irritate me.
I'm
So
actually not.
this
I'm
is,
really not.
and you know what? That's a good example of what these people who think they can beat Israel do. Is all they are is a minor irritation. They are a fly to be swatted. And then if you ask him, like, hey, what are you doing? What's the point of all this? It's like, we're the resistance, bro. We're going to overthrow Israel. We're going to get rid of them. And yet they never do that. And to respond to Joa's point,
Michael,
the thing is
I want
that
you to
after
respond to Joa, but
1973,
wait 1 second, 1 second. I want you to clarify. I think this is what Brother Hussein initially jumped in for. When you say they kept trying, and then they realized they couldn't defeat Israel, I guess the question is, because Joa said it hasn't happened for 50 years, and you said, yeah, they kept trying and then they gave up. So who kept trying since Yom Kippur? Actually, forget that. Who in the
yeah.
last
So,
years has last 10 years, just the last decade, has tried to defeat Israel?
yeah, do you want
Because
an
you've
answer?
just mocked the resistance. Wait, just 1 second, because I think this is important. You've just mocked the resistance. There is no resistance faction that has tried to overthrow Israel. They resisted Israeli terrorism. So when you say that it's always been for the resistance or Hezbollah or anybody else, it's always been defensive, it's never been offensive. If you were right, that actually looks far better for the resistance that they've only ever defended, they've never ever offensively attacked Israel. So who kept trying? Because that's a contradiction then, isn't it? Go ahead.
No, it's not. So what happened was all of the Israeli neighbors, all of the countries in the region that were around Israel organized their armies and attacked and invaded Israel or the state that would become Israel back in, like, I think it was 1948, and then again in the Yom Kippur War, and then again in 1973. They made 3 full-on efforts over the course of 3 decades. Once 1973 ended in absolute failure, they realized, okay, this is not working. We need to shift strategies. And at that point, they shifted to the Palestinian strategy, where instead of like actually conquering Israel, which they realized they couldn't do, they were like, well, we can at least delegitimize Israel by having a sort of insurgency so that Israel's never able to sort of take the wind and know peace and have stability. And that's been what they've been doing for many years, and it hasn't actually done anything to sort of like actually weaken Israel or make, if anything, it's kept Israel in a state of high militarization where Israel is just stronger because they have this constant like threat at their doorstep. But the thing is, where do we go from here? Like, how do you translate that into the actual defeat of the state of Israel so that Israel is no longer a force in the Middle East? And the answer is nobody can really answer that question, because unless Iran gets nukes and then Iran and Israel nuke each other, which I don't think people actually want, then I don't think there's any way to actually get rid of Israel, because like Egypt's not going to attack Israel. Syria's not going to attack Israel. It's a mess. Jordan is like a semi-ally of Israel that cooperates with Israel all the time. So the only country you have that like says that it's actually militarily opposed to Israel is Iran, and they're too far away to do anything except throw medium-range missiles at Israel, which again are just like a nuisance. So there's
Okay.
no actual path to actually ending the state of Israel through all this.
Okay, cool. So by your logic, right, then I guess Israel lost in all its objectives, because how long have they been saying we're gonna destroy the resistance in Palestine, we're gonna destroy the resistance in Lebanon? Still they exist, and they're stronger than they were 20 years ago.
They
And
definitely are not stronger. They've
yeah,
been
yeah, they are.
getting
But
absolutely
once
stomped out by
no,
Israel
actually,
for the
no.
past
So again,
several
like if you
years.
consider, but see, I'll let you talk though, and you're crashing out again, right? So if that's the case, right? And by the way, destroying buildings and killing innocent people is not destroying, by the way. But if you're talking about with your logic, then they failed completely in Iran because the regime didn't change. None of their objectives were met. They still want to go back to war because they know they failed. So Israel has lost on all fronts, according to your logic as well, because none of their objectives got complete, right?
And also the
Nobody's
war
trying
you're
to end the state of Iran. That's the difference.
That's exactly what
but
Israel's trying to do. What are you talking about?
yeah, Israel's trying to do that. No one tried to get rid of Israel. And you mentioned what happened back in the 70s. The only reason they didn't win was because Golda Meir told US she was going to use the nuke. And America said that we'll solve it then. Do not use the nuke.
Yeah,
Right?
oh my God. I just responded in a comment with someone with this. That is cope. That's not what actually happened as far as the timeline goes. Israel was already winning on the battlefield before the US had any supplies get off in Israel.
That's
the
not
US
true.
could only airlift. It is true. We can look up the timeline. By the time the US
Kissinger famously said he was going to cause diplomatic delay so the Israelis could regroup and not lose. This is directly from Kissinger.
Israel
What are you
wasn't
talking
regrouping.
about?
They were on the offense and they surrounded and captured a whole Egyptian army and were invading Egypt and in Egyptian territory.
Then
when
why
all
would they
this
have
was
to use the
starting to
nuke,
happen.
Manco? Why did they threaten to use the nuke?
The nuke threat was it's an alleged threat
because
that
they
happened,
were winning.
that happened.
It
Hold on,
wasn't
because it happened.
allegedly. The president wrote it in his book that the reason he supported him is because Golda Meir threatened to use the nuke. You don't threaten to use a nuke if you're on the winning side, Manco. Stop rewriting history.
I'm
It's
not rewriting
annoying.
history. Would you
Everyone
like me
has
to
AI.
explain where you've
Everyone
gone
has
wrong on that?
AI. They can look it up themselves and see. What's the
Cool. Then they
point
should
of
do that.
making up facts?
Yeah, so I didn't make up any facts. If you're in good faith here, I'll explain it to you. That happened at the very beginning. That happened at the very beginning when it wasn't certain how things were going to shake out because it was at the beginning. And Israel was like, hey, if everyone's going to come for us, if we start losing, we're going to start throwing nukes. And so that didn't end up happening. What ended up happening was within a short time after that, Israel started winning on the battlefield. Things started turning around in Israel's favor. And then Israel started running away with it over the next few weeks. And by the time the US planes with like the military aid cargo started to show up, and by the way, the vast majority of the military aid that Israel got from the US came on ships, not planes, because it's heavy. You need to use ships. And that didn't arrive until like months later, like in November to December, when the war was already over. So they did get some US aid from aircraft, but it was too little and too late to change the course of the war, and Israel was already winning. That's the thing. So the idea that like Israel was on the verge of defeat and then the US cavalry like showed up and saved them.
Manco, I have a challenge. I have a challenge for you. Go choose any AI you want and start by the Yom Kippur War and say, would Israel have won without the American intervention with logistics? And you can word it any way you want. And I dare you to read out the response it gives. You choose the LLM.
Yeah, that's not what I
You choose
use
how
AI
you word
for,
it.
by the way.
You
And that's
choose how
just
I
a
word
dumb
it.
thing. Why should I hold on? Why should
Because
I
you don't
ask
believe it when
an
everyone
AI
on this stage will tell
for
you the
an
same thing.
opinion? Why should I ask an AI for an opinion
No,
when
you ask
all
it
the
for
AI
sources.
does is look on the internet and take whatever it thinks the median opinion is, and it just puts that
You
in a
ask.
blender and spits it out?
Look, when I do
That
it,
doesn't
I
mean
ask for primary sources, and I don't ask for opinion. I ask for the sources.
we could
Right?
just look at the timeline. So am I wrong that the whole nuclear comment was made at the beginning of the war?
Well, you were wrong when you said that that was false and it was a rumor, and then you admit it wasn't a rumor and that it happened in the beginning. So yes, you
I
were
did not
false the
use
first
the
time
word
you tried to
rumor.
say it was
I
just a
didn't use the
rumor.
word rumor. Like you
Yeah,
all
you
twist
didn't
my
word
words.
use
I did not use
rumor.
the word
You
rumor.
said that that was a false report.
I didn't call it a false report, and I didn't call it a rumor.
Please, panelists, by the show of hands,
I
did
said
you
it was
say it was
reported. Hey, this is
false?
a recorded space, right? Go ahead and
Yeah,
clip my
it
words.
is a recorded space. You're right.
All right, you know what? I just want to say one thing, and then I'm going to go to Andrew, and I'm going to go to the other panelists who've got their hands up, because I think they all want to chime into this. So the one thing I'm going to say is, I'm paraphrasing here, Manco, something about Iran wants to destroy Israel, whatever, whatever. Iran, as part of this 88, certainly since 88 days, but since last year, since the 12-day war, one of the conditions of their ceasefire is fighting to cease across the region. They want to stop the fight. They never offensively struck Israel. They have repeatedly been attacked by Israel, repeatedly. They have never, ever attacked Israel. They want to stop all fighting. If they're not attacked, they will never attack Israel because they never have done. History speaks for itself. The entity that does not want the fighting to stop is Israel. Okay? So this whole thing of Iran wants the destruction of Israel, like even when you look at what's there in terms of practically what's happened, there's nothing that supports that. Israel is a terrorist state. End of. The only terrorism that happens in the Middle East happens because of Israel and for Israel. But let me go to, and we will continue, and I will let you respond, but let's just go to some other people to get their input. And then obviously, Joa and Brother Hussein jump in anytime. But Andrew, thanks.
Yeah,
Can I
just
finish the point, Beatrix, real quick? Sorry, I'll be
yeah,
two
go ahead,
seconds.
Ed. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that constantly this gets said, and even the ambassador in Jordan has said, we're helping Israel knock down some of these missiles. Can you please tell us what their plan is to stop killing innocent people? You can see their neighbors, all they care, they don't care about destroying Israel. They care about letting people free, stop treating people the way they treat people, stop committing a genocide, and Israel could be as free as it wants to be. Most of those people don't care. I understand that people right now are angry, their emotions are high, and they're like, I want to see Israel wiped off the face of the planet. Before this happened, most people didn't, they just wanted a one or a two-state solution, one or the other, just to treat people the way they should be treated. That's why no one's gone in and said, like, we want to eradicate Israel. That is what Israel says in order to get support. But you have
But
not seen those
Joa,
actions since Yom Kippur War. And even Yom Kippur War was not to wipe out Israel. It was to get them to let the Palestinians free. That's all it was.
Manco, I will let you respond, but let me go to just a couple of the other hands because I want to go to Andrew. There's somebody who said something quite funny on YouTube, actually. They said that, well, a couple of comments. One of them said Mango is going to, because they call you Mango, right? Mango is going to lose it when Israel loses. I don't think he will. And one of them compared you to, oh, there we go. Nick said, Manco sounds like Joe Biden, bro struggling with dementia. So funny. But they know that, you know what, Manco, you know that when you're not there, 24 hours of you not being there, it's like this freaking love-hate relationship. Where's Mango? Where's Mango? Why didn't Mango come back? And even when you jumped on YouTube that time last week to say, oh, it's because your account's locked, they were quite nice to you. So let's go to Andrew. Andrew, jump in. Thanks for waiting.
Yes, Joe, and it brought up the point. Mango, I'm shocked that you honestly insult our intelligence. You heard Mango say we couldn't lift that much. It was by ship. There in the 70, I'm going to go work backwards from the Yom Kippur, 73, there was tons and tons airlifted, C5 airlifts. It is in the tons of support. The military support from every aspect. The U.S. Sixth Fleet operations, part of Sixth Fleet operations in the Mediterranean has packages there to support Israel. Now, that alone should tell you they had a preponderance of our support backing them up. But the actual airlift, because we're talking about parts, planes, bombs, tanks, that was airlifted in the Yom Kippur War. So please, Mango, please, don't do that. We're not that stupid, Mango.
all right. So it says anecdotal
Okay, wait
evidence.
one second, Manco. I'm gonna come to you, but I just know that once you respond, somebody will respond to you. Andy and Best of Gentiles. Let me go to them because there is going to be a conversation with you that they all want to have. So let's just take their points as well. Go ahead, Andy. Thanks for waiting. Andy's
I mean,
gone. Andy's here.
going back to this war, I mean, just yesterday when there was the whole skirmish and everything with the bombing, and then like the U.S. and Iran said they shot down another MQ-9 Reaper drone, and like that just exemplifies the issues with their military. Like we're paying 30 million plus for these MQ-9 Reaper drones, and I think before yesterday, Iran shot down 24 of them, and it's 30 million on the low end for these things, and the high end versions cost 50 to 60 million. And no universe should a drone cost that much. Like this isn't some space satellite; it's a drone, and like the fact that the US is just this far behind in drone technology that we don't have a cheap drone that is mass produced like the Shahed drone is just completely embarrassing. We're supposed to be this #1 military superpower, but we're behind in drone technology. We spent years watching drones be like the dominant, decisive weapon of war between Russia and Ukraine. And the fact that from 2022 on to this war, in 4 years, we didn't think, maybe we should come up with a cheap mass-produced war drone or drone defense systems for war with Iran. Like the fact that that didn't even cross our mind, this shows complete incompetence. It's completely ridiculous that we possibly underestimated Iran like this badly. It's honestly embarrassing. Like if I was president, I mean, I would literally fire everyone in military planning and bring in an entirely new team of actually competent people, because clearly everyone in the U.S. military is incompetent at this point. That they could have if there wasn't the Russia-Ukraine war, then the U.S. would have an excuse of not understanding how drone warfare works. But we were literally supplying Ukraine, and we saw how Ukraine is able to get some hits in on Russia and damage Russian infrastructure with drones, how Russia is able to hit Kiev with drones. So we see two countries going at it for 4 years with drones, and we don't think, maybe we should develop a drone. Maybe we should develop drone defense systems because Iran is known to have drones. We just thought, we're going to shoot down drones with Patriot missiles or try to chase them with a fighter jet and everything's going to work out. And we got caught with our pants down. It's embarrassing. And this is not just a Trump problem, because this war was obviously planned and in the works well before Trump. This war has honestly been planned for decades because Israel has wanted this war for a long time. So the fact that our military planners didn't have any contingency or plan in place is ridiculous. The best saying I saw is that we're trying to fight a 20th century war against 21st century weapon. And it's true. We're just thinking, okay, we can go into some country and bomb it into submission, but it doesn't work when another country is fighting back with modern 21st century drones and ballistic missiles. But throwing some JDAMs and JASMs is not going to win a war in today's day and age. This isn't World War II. It didn't even work in Vietnam. The last time a bunch of bombing, like, you can't just carpet bomb a country into submission anymore. It simply does not work. And it's just honestly the fact that no one has even discussed that, like any influencers have discussed that there's no defense for this, it's like concerning. It feels like outside of our circles and a few other spaces, like no one's even discussing that fact. It's like this isn't even talked about.
Thanks, Andy. Appreciate you. Best of Gentiles, if you want to make your point on the discussion that they were having, and then I'll go to Socrates. If you just want to make really quick points, both of you, please, then we can go back and let Manka respond. Appreciate you, Andy. Go ahead, Best of Gentiles.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a couple statements here, and maybe get some feedback on one of them. But I'm with Andy on this. The only reason why Israel is able to exist is because of the United States. Israel is not some great military power. They wouldn't win anything in Lebanon without the United States. They wouldn't win anything against any of the states unless they were sucking resources from America for their genocidal purposes.
Correct you there, Best of Socrates, and then I want you to continue. They didn't win anything in Lebanon, even with the United States.
Well, that's what I'm saying. People will argue that.
There's a place in southern Lebanon called Melita, right? When you go to Melita, it's like this beautiful mountainous area, and on top of one of the mountains is this huge freaking outdoor museum. And it's not a museum like in London where they make you stand like 6 feet away from a frigging rope and you can't go near the rope and you have to take pictures from a distance. This museum has got full-on IDF tanks that you can get into and take your pictures in these IDF tanks. Everything that the IDF left there when they legged it in 2006 with their tails between their legs has been set up in Melita. Suleiman's been there, right? He went there actually just like a couple of months before October the 7th happened. And the
Beatrix,
guy,
I'm right there with you. I don't believe that they've won anything, but you'll have people like Mancos saying it. So like I'm right there with you, believing that they haven't won anything militarily.
no,
All they
I
do
know. I
is
just wanted to share that for the listeners as well,
okay,
so that they
okay.
know.
Uh,
And in that museum, I'll just say one more thing. They've got this auditorium bit where they've got all these big flat screens that go from left to right. And when you and they're not like, they're not boring. So when you start the one on the left, it's like whoever the Israeli IDF commander was at the time, I can't remember, making a statement about, like they do now, we will annihilate them, we will do this, we will do that. And as you go screen to screen, the statements get weaker. And as you go to the one on the right, the final one, they're like, we better frigging leg it from, paraphrasing, we better leg it from here before we get destroyed. That's what it's like. But do continue. I'm sorry I interrupted you, Best of
oh,
Gentiles.
no worries. I mean, it's the same thing as it goes right now. Like Israel isn't holding on to anything in Lebanon. They can't even get out of their tanks to take a piss or a shit. Every time they do, they get nailed. They're constantly on the move because they can't hold any ground there. They're not all they are is creating death and destruction, and that's all they ever do. Like, and then just to Socrates, I believe it was Socrates that made the statement earlier. And just in my defense of, like, I agree that Zionism is a problem, but that term wasn't coined until 1890. It didn't exist. So, like, I would just like to pose to maybe the panel, like, once we, and I put this in quotes, get rid of Zionism worldwide, what happened in 70 AD? What happened in England in 2090? France, 1306, Spain, 1492, Portugal, 1496, Austria, 1421, Hungary, 1349, Lithuania, 1495. This doesn't end with Zionism. This is
Yep.
built into the
Correction.
Talmudic beliefs.
Exactly.
Like,
The
Yeah,
Rothschilds
okay.
That
were
is the
Rothschilds
Zionist
were a
spirit.
problem.
One second. Andrew, I'm going to let you respond. But Best of Gentiles, that I completely, this is not that space, right? We don't
okay,
blame
but
some. No,
I felt like I was
excuse me. Don't interrupt me. I'm speaking. We're not going to blame somebody's holy book, because literally, I can say what happened in America. How did you guys take over from the Native Americans? Do you want to undo that? Like Trump said last week, it was built on Christian values. The murder, rape, and pillaging you did to take over from the Native Americans, was that Talmudic? No, it wasn't. So literally, you can look at, don't interrupt me, I'm speaking. You can look at every faith, go back to the Crusades, see what you guys did in the Crusades, see what Muslims did. I don't want to go to the history. I want to look at where we are today, and I want to fix the future. And if you end Zionism, which is never going to happen, by the way, I mean, you're even struggling to wake America up. So just leave alone somebody else's religion and focus on fixing America. Sorry, Andrew, you were going to jump in.
Yes, real quick. I have done the research. Dr. Rechtenwald, Mike Rechtenwald, he has a brilliant study of the Newton brothers, and I responded to that. It's in a detailed study going all the way back to the 2nd century, going even further back in that. And you want to talk about history, it is the same spirit. Now, you want to start talking about a spirit. This is not the space. It is that spirit, that evil demonic power. It has existed. The devil himself, okay, we won't go there, but it is Zionism and that spirit that drives that. So, but to get on an ethnicity, a people, a culture, no, we do not do that here for a reason. And I hope you understand that. I hope you understand that.
Yeah, and Andrew, on top of that, Herzl was atheist. Jabotinsky was atheist. This Zionism isn't
Netanyahu is
even.
an atheist.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah,
the whole
exactly. They're
thing.
not even
The
exactly.
whole thing. They're not religious. They use religion, but it's not the religion that led it. It's the religion that was hijacked by these people, right? And that's seen from the very founding papers of the whole idea of Zionism.
Exactly. Christianity's been hijacked, Islam, all of it, all of it. When you bring in the R word, religion, ideology that comes in, but truly it's that spirit that comes in and hijacks it. So, man, I could get on the bandwagon of the atrocities, and Beatrice was touching on that. Let's talk about Christians, and even we had Mango up here saying, "Oh, the banner of Christianity is to go and bring the nations to heal in the name of Jesus." That's Pete Hegseth's Christianity. That is not my Jesus Christ and his what he
I
teaches.
fully agree. I fully agree, and I will condemn every part of it. Like we have no argument there. But like
Beautiful.
my
Yes.
argument is just like you say, everything is hijacked. But like when I go down to the foundations of Christianity, I don't see any of what Pete Hegseth is talking about. Like, but you can when you look in the Talmud. That's my point. It's not written in Christianity. They've taken the Bible and bastardized it. That's all I'm trying. That's my only point that I'm trying to make here. That's what's guiding them is the Talmud.
Cool. Okay. I want to bring it back to geopolitics. I think this guy doesn't have the ability to do so. Let's go to Andy. Andy, jump in.
Exactly. This is not the space to go and jump in at a whole group of people, but like just if you look at the Gulf states, for example, like most of the people in those states are not okay with what's going on, just like most Americans are not okay with what's going on, but they have corrupt leadership that have warped Islam, and so that you could call like Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, you could call that like Islamo-Zionism, basically. That's what that is, and that is a problem. If you ask most people in Saudi Arabia and they were allowed to speak freely without fear of persecution, they would say, no, we don't want to be allies with Israel. No, we are against genocide. No, we don't like seeing our Muslims brothers and sisters get murdered. No, I don't think we should have, in Saudi Arabia's case, murdered 400,000 people in Yemen. I think the majority of Saudi Arabians would think that is wrong. But what you have a corrupt Zionist oligarchy in Saudi Arabia that is a problem. We could call it a Ziogarchy, whatever you want to call it, and that is certainly a problem. And you have that here, you have that in most of the West, you have that in some Asian countries, you certainly have that in India. Obviously, they're fully on board with this project. Like you have Hindu Zionism as well, which is a major problem. So it's like every religion has certainly been hijacked by this, and that needs to be addressed. It's not just Christian Zionism that's been hijacked.
You know what it is, Andy? I'm going to interrupt you. You're absolutely spot on, right? I was actually I mentioned this to Andrew today, and I'm actually going to read it now. I wasn't going to, because I said to him, "Oh, do you know something?" I said to him, "Oh, there's something interesting that came up the other day, and these were my thoughts about it." But I didn't raise it on the space because I wanted to keep it to geopolitics. But I do believe that people who come up here.
God.
What? Oh, I do believe that people who come up here and they want to smash somebody's religion and holy book either do it because they're so normalized in doing it on other spaces, they think it works in every space, or they do it deliberately to derail a space and to hijack a political discussion. Now, when a host or co-host or somebody on the panel stops you and says, this is not the space for it, and we don't believe this, and they get pushback from 3 people on the panel, one of them being the co-host, and then they double down, then I've got to question why. If you have a problem with somebody's holy book and their religion, fine. Have a problem with their holy book and their religion. But do you know what? Don't freaking pretend that you're for humanity and for the Palestinians and for the Lebanese, because the Palestinians don't have a problem with their holy book. The Palestinians are fighting for their human rights. The Lebanese are fighting for their human rights. The Iranians are fighting for their human rights. The Jewish community in Iran is the biggest in the Middle East, and they live in peace and love with the Iranians. So don't try to hijack somebody's political cause and pretend that's what it's about. And I'm really at the end of my tether with these people. And I'm going to read what I was going to read, right? Because I do feel, and this is my opinion, I feel very strongly about this. So there's a journalist who wrote this, and I'll tell you who it is in a minute. And they said, normal person says genocide is bad. The Israel supporter says, just say you hate Jews. Normal person says, I oppose Zionism. And the Israeli supporter's response is, Jews, you mean Jews, say Jews. The normal person says the Israel lobby is causing problems. The Israel supporter will say, Jews, 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 Jews. Normal person says, but I don't mean Jews. I'm expressing specific grievances against a specific state, its backers, and the political ideology it's premised upon. I judge people based on their individual actions, not on their religion. And the Israel supporter will say, Jews. The normal person will say, you realize you're doing the exact same thing as neo-Nazis do, right? You're conflating all Jews with everything bad about Israel and the forces which give rise to its abuses. And the Israel supporter will say, it is anti-Semitic to conflate all Jews with the actions of Israel. A normal person will say, then why do you keep conflating all Jews with the actions of Israel? And the Israel supporter will say, because it is anti-Semitic not to conflate all Jews with the actions of Israel. And when I read that, I thought that's really interesting, right? Because they're saying,
My fear is I think
sorry,
Israel's
Andy, I'm
almost
speaking. Hello. I'm literally in the middle of sharing my thoughts. What happened? Anyway, freaking hell, man. Talk about jumping in at the wrong time. This is a really important thing, right? And just this is ridiculous that people are just so free to jump in like that. But going back to the point that I was in the middle of making before I got interrupted, was that when I read this, and I'm not going to read it out again, so I'm really sorry if you were following my train of thought before you got told what Andy thought, is that this is an Israel supporter conflating everything to Jews, right? There is no difference between these people and those people on those spaces that sit there Jew bashing, pretending to be pro-Palestine. Because their responses, like the guy who came up, are identical to the Israel supporters. Identical. You tell them it's about Israel, they'll say it's all Jews. You tell them it's about an ideology, they'll say it's all Jews. So whose side are they really on, and what are they here to do? Hijack a freaking movement? Because the Palestinians don't agree with you. The Lebanese don't agree with you. The Iranians don't agree with you. So why are you even talking about their cause when you're bashing all Jews all day? Doc, jump in.
Well, I'm not sure I should, actually. I came up for the geopolitical politics, but I'll just say this as an atheist whose grandmother was Jewish, who was raised a Catholic, and practiced as a Lutheran when I had my family, and then left all of that because that pastor, a former Jew, molested, raped 2 children in my congregation, went to jail for 26 years because of it. That I see all religions as a mask for those who seek power. Why they seek power is, it's an individual sort of situation. But when it comes to nation states, I think it's a way that leadership controls the masses. And in each religion that we're talking about, the 3 Abrahamic faiths, religion and its teachings constrains behavior in a way that increasingly over time has been tailored toward political purposes. By that, I mean just the history of the Bible as it originally existed in its Greek form. Books were taken out, books were added in, they were rewritten. In translations, words became something that was beyond their original intent. And now it's a cause celeb, each of the religions, for the political, military, and economic desires of the leaders of those countries. So while I know people and have known people and love people, and I'll say this because of messages that we've exchanged here very recently between Andrew and I know Andrew is a faithful Christian. And my experience at the church where the pastor was charged and convicted for pedophilia, it tore our congregation apart and should have. But what amazed me was the 30% of the congregation sort of divided three ways. Those who supported the family, the children, wanted them paid, wanted them counseled, wanted them embraced. I was part of that group because the woman who had those children was an employee of mine. I brought her to the church. I felt a great deal of guilt because of that. My children were also targeted by this pastor. We were being groomed. My kids were just too young at the time to interest his particular sexual proclivities. Um, but 30% of the congregation, knowing that he had admitted to raping these kids, still continued to support him, which was beyond me. But it's sort of that percentage, that 30% of the congregation, is sort of the percentage of Christians that continue to support Trump, even with all of his broken promises about no new wars, that continue to
Yeah.
support.
Glad you're going there, Doc, because I just want to bring it back to geopol a little bit.
Okay, I'll just wrap up with this.
Go to
Yeah,
Trump.
I just think that when people of one religion start pointing the fingers at the other religion, I think they may be blind to their own, their own religion and its particular feelings. So I am glad to change it to geopolitics and sort of move on. Glad to do so.
Thanks, Doc. Socrates, let's keep it to geopol, please. Jump in.
Oh yeah. I will stick to that point. I think I was the one who brought up the whole idea of let's focus on the Zionism as opposed to saying Jews. And I think the person was
Okay,
mentioning
thanks
my
for that,
name.
Socrates. Appreciate it. Let me give some breaking news. I don't know what's happened to the space, but 1 second. I'm just going to give some news about the politics and bring it back to politics. Okay. Here we go. Okay, I'm hearing some rockets are being launched towards Israel. I believe it's from Lebanon. Yeah, rockets volleys launched at this moment by Hezbollah towards Israel. We also have. I did mention this earlier, but the Camp David meeting is now cancelled. They're not going ahead with the Camp David meeting. The reason, well, we'll have to wait and see what that is. Is it? We're gonna have to wait and see what that is. Let's go. Go ahead, Beatrix.
I've got a question for you, Suleiman. Why do you think that yesterday, when CENTCOM said that they struck Iran, or Iranian vessels or Bab el Mandeb, but I can't remember which area they struck, right? Why do you think Iran didn't retaliate?
Well, they did say in a statement today they're going to retaliate, so we'll have to wait and see what the retaliation is.
Oh, really? Okay, interesting. I missed that today.
Yeah, let's see what the retaliation is. It's going to be interesting to say the least. I think they've got to retaliate. The only way they don't retaliate is if there is some kind of deal, and then maybe they won't retaliate. But other than that, I think they will. Kyle, thanks for joining us. Hope you're doing well. Give us your thoughts.
Suleiman,
Yeah.
but I don't know if they're going to respond, but if you could you posted that extremely disturbing post about Trump asking them, Iran, to surrender, waive the right. I can't believe that I'm reading that. You just posted that a little while ago, right? It's
Yeah,
getting
that was a
beyond bizarre.
repeat. Yeah, that was a repeat of a tweet he did about a week ago. And funny enough, when I saw it, I initially thought it's the same tweet. I thought it's the same tweet, and then I checked, and it actually wasn't. It's the same thing that he said, that look, if Iran was to surrender, if I was to destroy all of Iran, if they were to pull their white flags, wherever it may be, then basically what will happen is everyone will still say US lost. But this is him just complaining because everyone is saying that they lost, isn't it? And that Trump's done a worse deal than the JCPOA.
Yeah, I don't have words for it. This can't be the commander in chief of our military, the leader of the free world. I mean, a child, someone who's deranged wouldn't write something like this. I can't believe it, Suleiman. I honestly, I don't know what to say.
Yeah. Well, it's just funny, isn't it? It's a fun. I just find him to be hilarious. Like in that sense, his Truth Social post is just so. Yeah, it's so off it. But I guess his
Yeah.
point is this: that he knows he's gonna get a lot of pushback, irrespective of what he does. And so, I mean, he's gonna get a lot of pushback when he makes this deal. And so he's kind of trying to get his crew back on board to try and basically say to them that when everyone says I lost, this isn't me. This is the mainstream. This is the mainstream media line about me. So that's just it.
Yeah,
Well,
good point.
on Truth Social, that's the remaining 25 to 30% of his, his supporters from 2024. The rest of us have left. I've left the platform. Those that are there, so he's feeding meat to those who are still eating it, and of course it's ridiculous. And to me, again, it just demonstrates that Trump is compromised. You have Ben Gvir, I think that's his name, some Israeli politician coming out and saying basically, hey, we control Trump. No deal's going to be made but for the deal that we agree to. And Trump flips the bitch and basically says, well, even though we've lost the war, everyone knows who's objective, understands that Iran is in a strategic position that can't be overcome without a massive, massive military commitment from the American president, which isn't going to happen because he doesn't have the support here at home. Votes in Congress and the polls support that contention, and in a very significant way. So again, this just seems more bumping along like we talked about. Again, we have these de minimis sort of attacks. I don't know what the proportional response is that Iran's going to make or should make, given that the limited attack that America put forward, and the ridiculous justifications for it, saying that this is not a continuation of the war, it's a defensive action. And that goes, it would take too long really at this point to explain, but that goes to the president's limited authority to continue a war after 60 days, which is passed. It passed on the first of the month. Under the relevant law here in America, he would otherwise have to go to Congress and get approval for funding for the continuing aggression. So they just changed the label to skirt the true intent of the law. And so there's really no way for those of us on either side of the question, will this war expand or will it lead toward some sort of reasonable ceasefire or peace agreement? We can't tell. You just can't tell because it is just so chaotic from all of our leaders, not just America's leaders, but Israel's leaders as well. The momentum against Bibi, the political opposition to Bibi, is growing. But it probably won't mean any difference in terms of foreign policy because the politicians that seem ready to succeed him are favored by the electorate, at least as far as the media that I'm consuming here from Israel says that nothing will change in terms of their policy positions. And if Trump is being blackmailed by the Epstein files, which is what I believe to be the case, then this is just going to continue. It's an untenable situation for everyone but Iran because time works for Iran in this situation. And if I was them, I'd just be sitting back. I don't know that I'd necessarily, respond to the latest attack by America. I mean, if they don't respond, it's just kind of like saying, it's not a big deal to us. Doesn't change anything. We're going to ignore it and portray ourselves as they have been, not just a simple betrayal, but as they have been, the more conciliatory party, the more reasoned party. And their actions have all been justified, at least in terms of the proposals that they've made on the peace deal. From their side, they want a toll on the straits. The straits were formerly free and open to everybody. Iran didn't exercise any control, even though our military planners here in America have known for decades that any attack on Iran would likely result in a closure of the straits. We went ahead and attacked it anyway. So maybe that was just, I'll end with this, maybe that was just a means for Trump and his cronies to play the oil markets, and enrich themselves to the tune of billions of dollars. And maybe it's more than that, but again, the reason I think he's compromised, he doesn't have freedom of action because of what Israel has on him.
Thanks for that, Doc. Kyle, jump in. Kyle, jump in.
Are you there?
Yeah.
I think Mancos is like a Jeff Goldblum wannabe, kind of homosexual. Could we expand upon that?
Well, no, Mankos may not be a good guy, but being a homosexual isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just, I don't think if you want to start off a recent conversation, you don't insult somebody out of the gate. At least not in this space.
Socrates, jump in.
Yeah, I think the point that Manko was making earlier, I wanted to debunk that, but he's gone. Every war, almost every war, especially the latter ones that Israel fought, they were all with the support of the U.S. So if you remove the support of the U.S. Militarily, whether it's supplying of all sorts of ammunitions, or if you remove the diplomatic cover in the UN, if you remove all of that, then I really, really highly doubt that they would have won a single war. And I think that statement that they are the strongest in there, and then no one is going to beat them. That has to be said with the additional information that with the backing of the U.S. And I think that's where a lot of people make that misleading statement. The other thing that I really wanted to highlight is before 1948, for the most part, over the last 2,000 years, Jews, Christians, and Muslims, they used to coexist with no problem. They used to coexist before 1948. There was no problem. So it's not a religious issue per se. That's what I'm trying to say, that we need to highlight. The Zionists. We need to say that they are the ones that are causing all these problems, and they are actually brainwashing the young generation in there to be even more brutal than they were. And I think people need to make that distinction. And then someone was asking, before the 1970s, that's when it was formed, the Zionism and all. I think you can call them whatever you want to call them. If the name was not officially stated as Zionists at that time, you can just call them,
Andy, jump
Mossad
in.
terrorists.
Thanks for that. Andy, jump in. Give us your thoughts.
I mean, going to the war. I think Iran should retaliate for what happened. I think that it's just about establishing deterrence, because Trump wants this. Oh, we attacked and they didn't really hit back. So Trump's looking at this as kind of some PR win. So if there isn't a deal, I think Iran should do a proportionate response. Maybe a small strike on somewhere in Saudi or something. Nothing obviously major, but it's just about the escalation ladder. Like, the U.S. killed 4 sailors and is lying and saying it's self-defense. And yeah, Trump is going to get blowback from if he eventually makes a deal, because you have the crazy Zios, the Lindsey Grahams, that Israeli journalist Emily Schrader, for example, literally quote tweeted Lindsey Graham and said, "Israel will not allow this." So, like, you even have Israel admitting that they're the ones in charge of when Trump makes a deal. Like, it would just be, imagine if we were trying to negotiate a deal, as I've said before, with Russia and Ukraine, and then another journalist said, "We will not allow this." It would be completely ridiculous. Like, let's say a German journalist or a Ukrainian journalist or something said, "We won't allow this," and there was a peace deal on the table. And it's like that MAGA supporters would rightfully be up in arms, but because it's Israel, they just have this. A lot of Trump supporters just have this reflex where, oh, if Israel says something negative about It's literally you're not allowed to criticize Trump in the MAGA movement unless it's Israel or something. Then Trump criticism's okay if it's from Israel. Like that's just I guess the brainwashing of the MAGA cult. Like they just ignore criticism of Trump from Israel. It's actually wild. Like you think they'd actually defend their man from criticism like they normally do, but when it's Israel, nope, dead silent. You're allowed to criticize him then. It's literally wild. The whole movement has been corrupted to its core. It went from an America First, no new wars movement, and it's now what I like to call is I call it George W. Bush with performative racism because Trump's like, yeah, we're going to deport all these people, and then Trump pretends to care, and then Trump sends out a mean tweet about the Somalis to get people all excited, and then he doesn't actually do anything. He doesn't deport anyone. It's all performative for him. And that's just going back to the systemic issues with the party. All they do is do some tax cuts for rich people in wars, and then they don't deliver on any of the actual stuff they promised for 95% of their voters. And the Republicans are going to, and you have Laura Loomer spreading her conspiracy theory saying we should cancel the World Cup. Ebola's in the United States. And it's like, what the heck is she even talking about? Like, I don't even like it's completely ridiculous. It's almost like they're just throwing out any distraction they can now to distract from the fact that first it was to distract from Epstein. Now they're trying to distract from the fact that they lost this war. So they'll throw out UFOs, this, that, anything to distract from the fact that Trump went to a war he shouldn't have. He got his ass kicked and they're embarrassed, so they'll throw out these new distractions. Oh, let's prosecute Hassan Piker to try to unite the right behind Trump again. It's completely tiresome. Like anyone who's like Hassan Piker's not going to jail. It's all for show to try to make it look like, oh, Trump's going after people. Yeah, how about you go after an Epstein client instead of a streamer? I'm not a fan of Hassan Piker, but there's much more people that should be in prison over a streamer. Like, I don't know, Les Wexner for being Epstein's co-conspirator, Leon Black, Reid Hoffman, all of these sicko Epstein criminals. But no, it's Trump will arrest Maduro for non-existent drug charges. He'll try to go after some left-wing streamers. He'll put people on the right on a domestic terrorist list because they oppose Israel, but he won't ever actually arrest the real criminals.
Do you think they will, Andy? Do you think they will? Iran will respond though.
If I hope they do. I think they said they will be a response, and every time they've said they'll do something, they have done it. So I trust their word at this point. I mean, when have they ever said they're going to respond and not done anything? That's why I do trust that they will do something. And if the only reason I see them not doing it is if they genuinely are close to some type of deal. But I feel like if they don't do it in the next day or two, and then they wait 2 weeks to respond, then that's going to be viewed badly by the world, and then you know how the Zionist media will spin it up to, oh my God, Iran's the aggressor, they broke the ceasefire. So if they respond, I think it needs to be today or tomorrow, and because unfortunately, even though PR shouldn't matter, it does because they do have the support of the world behind them, despite the propaganda. But a response 2 weeks from now would then be spun negatively against them. Like, I think they should have responded immediately. Like, 4 of their sailors died. They should have responded immediately. They should have maybe done a small strike on an energy facility in Saudi Arabia, or just anything, a small strike on a U.S. base in Saudi Arabia somewhere. Bahrain again, although I think there isn't anything left of Bahrain. But I think that naval headquarters is completely decimated. So, but just anything, hit a few drones and missiles into U.S. base, call it a day, say we responded, we reestablished deterrence. If you mess with us again, the next response will be much harsher. Don't do it again. I mean, that's what I would have done. Like, this really almost feels like Trump's trying to just punt this down the road until after the World Cup. And the World Cup has always scared me because I think if they're going to try a false flag, that would be the optimal time, because then they could use some type of false flag bombing to try to kill some Americans along with foreign citizens. Like, let's say they do a false flag and then some French and German and British citizens get killed. Then they'll say, oh my God, these evil Iranians, when it's obviously going to be a CIA or Mossad op, killed your citizens. And then they'll use that to drag Britain and France and Germany into the war. And I mean, you already know Keir Starmer's itching for an excuse to go into the war directly, and a false flag would then give him that excuse, and he'd lie and go along with it, even though he probably would know it's not real, just to use that as an excuse to bring you guys into the war directly with your actual planes and ships versus just letting us use your bases. And that's what I think they want. They think, oh, if we can bring a few more countries into the war, that will shift the balance. It won't. Bringing Britain, France, and Germany in will not all of a sudden make Iran collapse. Sure, all that, maybe they could drop a few more bombs, but that will not shift the war. And all it's going to do if they do that false flag is sadly just get innocent people killed. But I feel like they have this false flag in their back pocket because you have everyone warning about, oh my God, terrorism, there's going to be an attack. When you've had Laura Loomer every freaking day tweeting about how these Muslims are going to do some type of attack, it's like she's putting that narrative out there. So then when it happens, she can be like, I'm vindicated. I told you these Muslims were evil and that they hate us. Even though that's simply not true, you'll have people go along with it. And then that will be the casus belli to resume the war.
Yeah, do you know what? I agree with both of those things. So you made a good point that I hadn't thought about. Because I saw people saying Crew Promise 5 should be on its way and stuff. And I'm just thinking that Iran's not going to respond. But you're right. When have they said something and not done it? But if they leave it for 2 weeks, then it looks weak on them. And then it will be seen as an offensive attack as opposed to defensive. So good point on that, because that's not something I've thought about. And yeah, false flag for sure. People are on tender hooks about that, to be honest. Let's see. Jonah, jump in.
Yeah. Do you mind if I bring some LNG news in here?
No,
'Cause-
absolutely not.
Okay. So Commonwealth LNG, which is a large $18 billion LNG project, is now closed thanks to China. China has purchased long-term contracts with the new LNG plants, which winded up helping fund the plants. China is now buying several contracts from several new plants, helping finance the growth of LNG in the United States. And this is why the whole thing I was bringing up with David the other day was really important, because the pipeline from Russia is cheaper to build, and Russia is waiting for China to fund their part of it, and China has delayed funding their part of it and hasn't done so. Hello?
Whoops. Hello.
Yeah, I lost my AirPods for a second, so I'm on speaker now.
Oh my God, I thought it was just a divine intervention there for a second.
The by the way, I have to applaud. You made a really good point, Beatrix, and Andy. Don't interrupt because she easily gets lost. Her brain only works in short second bursts, so please don't interrupt her next
You
time.
like that, Andy? Listen, I'm sorry if I came across a bit harsh to you. I really wanted to. That was really serious, and it was quite intense for me when I read it. So my
Yeah.
bad if I was a bit harsh.
Yeah, and her
Beatrice, can you post that? Hey, sorry, but can you post that and your timeline, but also in the purple pill down there? That is an outstanding quote. But
The thing is, Andrew, if I post it, because my account's locked, nobody else can see it. So I sent it to you in DMs. So if you want to share it, you can.
oh, definitely, thank you. We'll do. And Joel, sorry to interrupt you. Yeah, we
Yeah.
don't interrupt.
No, don't
Beatrice.
worry.
Do
I can
not interrupt.
hold my thoughts, unlike Beatrix,
No,
no problem.
hey.
I understand your point, Andrew. You don't have
Can't
to.
hold the connection, but go ahead.
Yeah, so China is not funding this pipeline from Russia, which would have been cheaper than what they just did with this plant in America, and they're expanding. So it seems like China is trying to have good relations with America and buying LNG from America, and that's the first time they've done so since the trade war that started with Trump in the first term. When he started with the whole tariff thing, China put tariffs on American LNG, which caused the Chinese importers to divert that supply to Europe instead of taking it in possession in China. And China has reversed course on that now and is funding US LNG plants. And all the people out there that keep saying Trump is trying to choke off China. And they're high up military people saying it. And I'm like, you're an idiot. You have no idea what you're talking about. And yeah, why we're trying to be giving contracts to American LNG companies then?
So what's the impact of that in everyday life for people then?
It seems like America is positioning itself and the West to be the LNG power capital of the world. And China, to not to everyday people, it doesn't make a huge difference. But this whole thing with China's going to be with Russia and they're more like a bloc. Every country's going to do what's good for their country. Yes, there is going to be power in the East, and yes, there's going to be power in the West. And I actually think that's a really good thing because Israel loses a lot of power. Because they won't be as relevant anymore if that happens.
Well, not even to America.
Not even to America. If the power corridor is in the East, in America's backyard, and probably in America, in Houston to be more precise, um, why do they need Israel? America doesn't need Israel. But that's if you believe my theory that Israel's a forwarding operating base for America. And yes, Israelis do have interest in influence American politicians, and it's a two-way street. If you believe it's just a one-way street and Israel controls all of America and every decision America makes is because Israel makes it for them, then no, that theory is not true. But I think America uses Israel as well, and they won't need to use Israel anymore for anything at all.
Just listening, trying to process that, Joe. Understand the English, trying to process into bite-sized pieces to break it down. But yeah, I've been listening carefully to your whole thing. You've been going in this couple, 3, 4 times over the past couple days about natural gas, and I think you have a real big valid point there. I'm just wondering the market. I know the market's not real, but the market is definitely not showing that yet. But
Prices are coming down, and LNG
yeah,
prices just came down too.
yeah, 5%. This one, our guy that does all that stuff is like, "What are you talking about? It's dropped 5%. It's key. It's on. It's still in a dive." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay. Well, we're gonna go with that. We're going with that EXE." But I'm with you. I'm with you, bro. I'm with you. But I just can't process what you just stated. I'm not. You got
I'll
to
try to.
realize, yeah, I can't
Yeah.
put that into
Or,
English. You and Simon sometimes put things that have to be translated. Just
or,
being, yeah.
okay, oil will still be relevant in the Middle East. LNG will be American controlled, right? LNG is the power that the first world countries will be dependent on more so than petroleum in the coming decades.
Yep.
Some countries it already is. Countries like Japan, LNG is more important than petrol is.
Yep. With
Um,
you.
and that's also changing in America. And as cars become more electric and you do more renewable energy and things of that nature, it'll be less and less. LNG is how you reduce the cost of your power plants. It's how you reduce the cost of factories. It's how you reduce the cost of a lot of things before you get to renewable energy. And if you look in the past, petrol was the king of mobility and the king of power, right? In the future, LNG will be the king of power, and petrol will still be the king of mobility until most cars are electric, which won't happen for another 2 decades, probably.
I just the final connection. Well, I'll just land there. Just couldn't connect the final thing about how Israel played into that exactly.
Because Israel helps keep things divided there. They create conflicts. They do provide a lot of intel to America, not always truthful intel. But they do cause a lot of strife, a lot of division, so you can keep things divide and conquer, basically strategy. Um, I think if there was no Israel, I don't think Iran and Saudi Arabia would have this like secret hate for each other. To be honest, although I know there's like the Sunni and rift and things like that, the secular thing. Hey, Solomon, your mic's on. I don't know if you want to
Yeah,
chime in
yeah,
or
yeah. I'm just waiting for you to finish. Then I was going to jump in. Go ahead, sorry, Joe.
yeah. Yeah, I just don't think there would be as much conflict in the Middle East if it wasn't for them. And if they were united, they would probably unite against the U.S., taking most of their resources. Um, and that would be a different story, right? But if you do that, then you no longer control the dollar because the dollar's priced. You can say that the oil's priced in dollars, but that also means that the dollar's priced in oil. You see what I mean? So if you control the oil, you control the value of the dollar. So you can't have them unite.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Joe. I just want to welcome Simon onto the stage. Simon, hope you're doing well.
Hey, Solomon.
Doing good?
Yeah, all good, all good. We're gonna do a recording in about an hour. Yeah, have you got an interview first?
Yeah. I got an interview in a couple of minutes. Then we got you. Then we got a Russian guy, because there's another strike on Russia right now as well. So yeah, we got a few interviews lined up. Looking forward to it, Simon. Just guys, another thing. Tomorrow we're gonna start the space a bit later, and the reason is because it's Eid. So we're gonna spend it with the fam. So we will be starting at 6 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Yeah, 6 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. We will be starting the space. So slightly later than normal. Actually, let me be more clear on this. But anytime between 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern. So anytime between 5 to 6 p.m. Eastern, we'll start the space. I just wanted to let everybody know, just in case, you turn up at our normal time of 3 p.m. Eastern and find out that we're not open yet. So yeah, we'll start the space tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern. Yeah. Joe, sorry, did I interrupt you? Did you finish your point?
No, I was done.
Okay, Simon, how you doing? How's things?
Yeah, all good. I was just catching the tail end of what Joe was saying there. There's no doubt that LNG is the future commodity alongside semiconductor chips. And so, and that kind of ties into like the LV batteries, nickel, all the commodities around that, helium, semiconductor chips, and there's not,
Cobalt.
yeah, and that is exactly what's been repriced and moved as a result of the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. It's just effectively split the world up into who's going to provide, and there's not enough energy in there's not enough LNG in the world to power what they're trying to achieve. And so we can talk a bit more about that on the interview, Solomon, as well. But yeah, the LNG side is there's no doubt we're transitioning to an LNG powered economy.
But did you see the contracts China's making with the U.S. and buying, basically giving the funds to American LNG plants
But I thought
to
that I
build their
thought that
plants?
deal was the old deal and they just put it back in.
No, it's new. It's new. It's from the 15th of May.
Yeah, but wasn't that because the US was, I remember, US was providing China with LNG before, and then they had the trade war, and then it stopped. And then I believe, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, this is what Pepe said. I think it was Pepe or someone said it, or in one of the interviews, that they've just basically that was part of the agreement that they re-add
Yeah,
that back on.
that was on our interview, Solomon.
Oh, was it yours, Simon? No, it was
Yeah,
Simon who
yeah.
said it then. Yeah, okay. So.
But yeah, they I mean, China will buy energy from whoever will provide it in every form. So they're leaning into fossil, coal, hydro, solar, oil,
But
LNG,
but what's
everything.
strange, Simon, is they're not helping Russia with the Siberian 2 pipeline, which would be way more than what America can provide. So they're choosing America here,
No,
which is
they've
strange.
that was part of the meeting. They made an announcement about the progress of Power Siberia 2, and then
Yeah,
they also made an announcement of the buying more LNG, but they stopped buying LNG off US in February. It was either February or May around the
20,
trade war.
2020. Yeah.
It's in 2025 they completely stopped around the trade war, and now they're just they had that card as a part of the trade war, and now they they bring it back online. But I don't think they're choosing. But they're investing everywhere where they can invest, and I think that's the purpose of these negotiations is to. But yeah, I mean, I can't imagine them choosing US. I think they'll be investing into Russia. They'll be investing into US. They're investing into Gulf, Iran, everywhere.
But the Siberian deal, what they announced was that we're closer to a deal, but there's still a lot of things to work out, is what the actual announcement said. And it is a project that won't supply LNG at least until 2030 at the fastest possible rate. So I think they're looking for faster routes, like securing faster routes of LNG because of the growth of AI. And that's probably what, if there is no favoritism, which I don't think there is,
Testing.
Russia will take longer to deliver LNG than America will. So they're putting more money into America than they are into Russia.
Yeah, I think that's correct. Other than the framing, I think they're investing into Paris, Siberia too. It's a massive project. They're accelerating it, and they're also bringing back on US LNG.
So guys, just a quick one. If you're on the second YouTube channel, we are going to be moving to the first YouTube channel. So if you're on the Suleiman Ahmed X YouTube channel, we are moving to the Moral Resistance YouTube channel. Come across there. Sam, let me send you the link for our interview, so you can do that or whatever.
Agent Beatrix as well.
Who's that? Don't know who that is. Hi, Matthew, can you hear me?
Yeah, hi. How you doing, Simon?
Happy Eid.
Oh, I can't.
Happy Eid. How you doing, Andrew? You good?
Matthew, can you
Simon,
hear me?
hey Simon,
Yeah, I
been
can
a
hear you.
while.
Can you hear me?
Doing great, sir. Thank you. Looking forward to catching up. Thank you.
Hi, Matthew.
How you
Matthew,
doing?
can you hear me?
Andy, yeah, sorry. Once you mention
brilliant. Okay,
someone,
brilliant.
like you get in this awkward thing where you have
Awesome.
to make sure
We're going to start now,
you
and then
mention
I'll
everyone.
bring you up in like 30 seconds.
Sounds good. It's good to see you. Thanks for having me back.
You, how are you doing? How's things?
Yeah, things are good.
Hey,
Yeah,
Simon,
it's good. Today's a bit more
please
of a
don't
quiet
interrupt,
day,
dear
we just don't
Beatrix.
know.
You
Are
kind
you
of
looking to talk
interrupted
about
there. You
Russia
know
for
we
about
don't
15
do that,
minutes
sir.
at the end of
Yeah,
the
we totally should.
Okay,
Absolutely.
no, I think she
Yeah.
was cutting out.
She
Awesome. I did
forgets
see, because I was
easily,
looking through...
Oh,
I don't know who channel I was looking
no.
through, and I was watching you actually
Jonah's asked me
speak
to
about
be
Russia and
booted.
Ukraine.
You
I
know,
was like,
one
oh,
of these
brilliant.
days I'm going to do
Yeah,
it. He was
yeah,
trying to
because we
regime
need to.
change me, Simon. He's
We're
been
not,
trying to
and
regime change me. Do you
things
know
are
that?
getting
Has
bad.
he been
Every time
taking the
he,
Yeah,
co-host?
escalating significantly.
well, he takes the
Thank
purpose, but
You
he
were
tries
trying
to
regime change ever since you invented that bish bosh baloney.
bish bash bosh. Get it right.
Exactly, Joe. Right,
He
okay,
takes the
guys, I'm going to
purpose.
end the first stream, so everyone come across. I'm just about ending now, and it's the link. I put the link in, it's pinned, so come across there. Also, it's in the, and I was, sorry, I thought I was super ready this time, and I kind of messed it up a bit. But anyway, all good. We're just about 30 seconds behind. Let's tweet this out. But yeah, if you're on the YouTube, the first channel, we're going to the other channel, so everyone come across there. The Moral Resistance channel. Okay, and yeah, I'm going to end this now.
Beatrix, should we set up a